Morena Koto, and welcome everyone to our final activity briefings for this triennium. So everyone will have read all our reports, so we're going to start now on page 4 with Gordon for information services, and Gordon's report is there. So are there any questions from councillors? Councillor Ellis.
Thank you. Morning, Gordon. The emergency response mapping, is that for like natural type disaster, not for emergency services?
Through the chair, it's to support the community response teams out there, plus provide us with information around key locations within the townships.
Councillor Todd.
Thank you. Digital solutions are talked about with consultation, submission and also grants and funding. So does this speed up the process, is it? Like what is the object of it?
So both of these look to support the management activities of once a submission is received, or the process of grants and funding allocations, etc., decision making and what have you. So in terms of will it save the officers time? Feedback and confirmation is that it will, in assembling, for example, through submissions, reporting, getting themes, etc. And that submission management system will be used in anger for the gambling and building dangerous buildings and insanitary buildings, which is due to start the consultation on 29th of September. The funding and grants, that work is now to start with a view of having that up and running for the February round of grants.
Mayor Brown.
Page 7, Gordon, exchange email, and it says the transformation of this service to full cloud operation and retirement of provider services that are due for retirement. What does that actually mean?
So this is a change from the provider Microsoft in their services. So we use their email services, and that's a product that they have, which is Exchange. So long-standing. They are moving their services so that the model that we have will no longer be supported going into the future, and so we're making that changes so that we remain in a supported environment.
So everything we have now is in the cloud? Is it?
No, for email it's a bit half and half. This will remove the element that we host on site, so it is an improvement in that respect as well around things such as security.
Thank you.
Councillor Lovett.
Just going to the cemetery data, are we trying to have one central place where people can go to find who's buried at which cemetery in the district? I know years ago there was a team with cameras going around photographing some of the outlining cemeteries to bring all that in essentially into a document. Is that what this is capturing?
This is the information is centrally housed. This is more of a data verification, data cleansing issue, making sure that what we do hold is correct, because that information does flow through to a website which people can search our cemeteries as they do. So this is around making sure that our data is 100% accurate.
Right.
Councillor Cameron.
Thank you. Just a quick question. Good morning, Gordon. The information management, physical and digital record management, continuing work to identify, record and appraise and manage districts, heritage and that sort of, and everything in that area. Presumably you don't, your team does not actually do that. The teams do that in their departments, like, would that be correct?
Through the chair, so the information management area within my team are charged with ensuring that council does stay compliant with the relevant acts that we have to work under. Our work will include the likes of disposal, appraisal. So we keep financial records, for example, for 7 years.
Yes.
So we will oversee that process of getting sign-off from the business and then executing that disposal. So that's one example there. For the museum, we've worked over there is about cataloguing our archival store, which is information that predates November 1989, so the formation of Ashburton District Council. And we are going through supporting them catalogue, record those.
Yeah, I understand. Can I I understand that. Thank you. And I understand about the financial management records. So say you had hard copy records, would you then ring Helen and say, you need to biff out those records that have been retained for 7 years? Or are you talking about digital records that you have that need to be scrapped from the system after 7 years? Like, how, is that what you mean?
Through the chair, both. So we
Okay.
would.
So you act as a notifier of when records need review and getting rid of as well?
Yes, we mark against every record their retention period and then take action from that with the business.
So for museum, for example, you've got staff over there, they're not scanning in the pictures of a horse and carriage or an old dray or whatever. Your staff are doing that, is that correct?
No, that is museum staff who are doing that digitisation to put that onto that website. We are supporting and recording. We don't have a detailed list of all the records that we hold, and that's what we are correcting.
Okay, I'll ask some questions offline about that. Thank you.
Thank you. Just a quick question from me, and it's probably just around the areas around the district where there's no mobile or cell phone reception, so we've got staff going out everywhere. Have you noticed that, if you can answer, if there's less sort of, what am I trying to say, have those spots got any better over the last few years, or are we still finding that there's a lot of spots out there that don't have cell phone coverage, and how does that sort of relate to the work, if you can answer that?
Yes, Chair, I don't think I can answer that. I'm not getting notification of dead spots from our officers. That's not to say that those dead spots don't exist. We use a provider where we feel they have the most coverage, but I couldn't say whether that's 100%, and I suspect that it is not.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, okay, yeah, we can ask Jim. Any further questions? No, thanks, Gordon. Next up we have Renee with property on page 10. Morning, Renee.
Morning.
You got anything else to add?
I realised I'd missed some good news off the update. So very pleased to say that the Oval Pavilion settled on the 2nd of September. So that has been a long-standing issue that we've had. So we're absolutely thrilled to have made that happen.
Yeah, thank you. Very good news. Councillor Ellis.
Thank you. Just page 12, forestry, and I've got a couple of questions. First one, have we had any wind damage, I suppose? I mean, I know it probably will come in the next report, but just with the winds we've had?
Through the chair, surprisingly, no, we haven't had any reported wind damage.
Okay, cool. Secondly, who's looking after organising pruning and thinning and all those sorts of things when they're due now?
Through the chair, we're using a forestry consultant to help us with that.
Yeah, so he's, as well as doing the report he's telling you when a block needs thinning. Cool.
Correct.
And my last question is, I see you're harvesting 2.5 hectares. is there a plan to replant that? Because we are replanting another block. It could easily be added on for not much money, I would have thought. So
Yes, and that's what we'll be looking at once we get to the end of the harvest.
Councillor Cameron.
Thank you. Thanks, Renee. Landing fees, airport, of which I haven't really kept abreast of a lot of the airport information. But when you look here, we've got more movement, but we have less fees.
That's correct.
I would like some elaboration on that, please.
You'd like, sorry?
Elaboration.
Oh, sure. So there was a discussion at the LTP,
Yes.
and the airport users put forward a different landing fee
Alternatives,
methodology, and so that's been implemented. And so what it's meant is a modest reduction in the landing fee income and an increase in the number of movements.
Okay, thank you. I recall that conversation. I didn't anticipate it would see a reduction. I thought it would be about the same when you increased it, but it has been a reduction. Yeah. One more question, please. Elderly persons housing. I heard someone, I spoke to somebody the other day, and they said is this your department? May not be this question. They said they wanted a double unit, and they were told there was none. Now, I said, are you sure you were told there was none available? They said, no, we were told you don't do them.
Through the chair. So the terminology can be a little bit misleading. So we've got all of our portfolio are 1-bedroom units, and so we refer to a single unit being the bedroom will fit a single bed, and a double unit being it's still a single bedroom, but it will fit a double bed into the bedroom. So a lot of the portfolio currently is single, and so that may not suit everyone.
Councillor Hooper.
Thank you. The clock tower lights, Renee, where are the quotes coming from? Is there quite a few options as far as receiving quotes, and with the sustainability and etc. in mind, is solar power an option?
Through the chair, that's what we're working through at the moment. So it is specialist lighting. It's not something you can just pop down to the store for. So we are dealing with people that are skilled in this, and we're just working with them to go through those types of things. What else is available in terms of energy efficiency and being able to control it to the level that you would like to. And I just wanted to note that we are bringing that report back to council, so that you can understand exactly what's in that package.
Great, thanks.
And will the lights look exactly the same as they are now?
I guess there's choices to be made. Those decisions haven't been made yet, but we will be bringing something to council
For lots of different options.
That's it.
Councillor Wilson.
I'm sorry to go back to the airport again. So technically we've had a 30% increase in landings and takeoffs, and our income's gone down. So are we going to get to the end of the year and have a budget deficit because of wear and tear and a lot more cost related to we have to pay some of the lands we pay, don't we? We pay some money towards the regulatory authorities or something, don't we?
Through the chair. So what we have is the movements get monitored, and so that gives us the ability to know who's landing and where the fee is to be charged. So it's only a slight decrease on what we had budgeted. In terms of the maintenance, it's okay. It's coping with that increase in load at this time. It is a living surface, so depending on the number of movements, but the guys out there are pretty good in keeping a track of that and making sure that they shorten up the landings or go to one side or the other to maintain that living surface.
So will it mean at the end of the year we have a deficit, a greater deficit, the general ratepayer is subsidising the airport to a greater amount so that the people who are landing are paying less? That's the guts of the matter at the end of it?
Yes.
Councillor Brown.
Thank you. Renee, just the Speedway Committee, are they locals or are they from Christchurch?
That's a good question. They've just had a change in the committee, but we've found them to be really, really good, communicating well with us. But I'm sorry, I don't know the location. I can come back to you on that one.
Okay, I knew there was a bit of a thing what's going.
Councillor Meckle.
Yeah, answer to Leon's question. The chairman's from Leaston.
Yeah, and the previous one was sort of Darfield area. For some reason, locals don't seem to be jumping in those seats at the moment.
Thanks for that. Any other questions on property? No, thanks, Renee. Next up, we have finance, and we have Erin here, and her report's on page 13. I see you have audit coming in next month. This Monday, was it? Yes, they're here.
Yes, they are in sight, yep.
Excellent. Any questions for Erin on her report? Councillor Ellis.
Thank you. Just down the vehicles, I assume the one that was written off with was fully insured, and so it's just a replacement, basically using most of the insurance money.
Yeah, that's correct. So the car, because it was under a year old, we have a replacement for the cost of buying it new as of the time when the crash happened. So we did receive some good comeback from that one.
Councillor Todd.
Thank you. I was interested to read that Audit New Zealand are here for 5 weeks. Are they here full time for 5 weeks?
So they're auditing us full time for 5 weeks. They're on site at least 3 days a week, and then the shoulder days are off site. So yeah, full time for 5 weeks.
So how many staff are involved
From
them?
From them, currently there's 4, and then they have a few more towards the end of the process.
Okay.
Any other questions for Erin? No, thank you very much. Right, we'll move now to infrastructure and open spaces, and we have Ian here, and his report is on page 14. Oh, yep, we're doing it that way. That's good. Excellent. Lights are already on, so go to Councillor Ellis first.
Good morning, Ian. Just a quick couple of questions on the cemetery. I was out there on Father's Day, and the big 44-gallon drums for rubbish seemed to, because all the rubbish bins were full basically with dead flowers as people replaced them on what was a very busy day. And there's only one bin in the new part of the cemetery, which was also chocker. So is there a better system we can use for somehow getting rid of all those old floral arrangements, I suppose, rather than people just stuffing them in a small rubbish bin?
Yeah, through the chair, the bins were changed out to the black bins, and there will be more of those bins as the cemetery grows. So we originally went in through the area where there was a proliferation of the old bins that got quite rusty and looked quite average, to be fair. I take your point that the smaller bins do, with some larger floral tributes, they do fill up reasonably quickly. So I don't think there's an easy answer to that, but we will certainly raise it with the staff to make sure that they're emptying them as regularly as they should be.
Thank you. And second question, just unfortunately, not unfortunately, but being out on the campaign trail, so getting lots of questions, which I said I'd pass on. So there's some people who'd be interested in setting up a Friends of the Cemetery, and they'll go around and clean old headstones, from families that obviously are no longer in the district, or the headstones are looking very unkept, just to try and keep the cemetery clean and tidy. Would that be a concept that you would be comfortable with, and maybe we could arrange something? Or
through the chair, it's not something that I would condone and support, because the headstone and monumental works are actually owned by the families. So I appreciate that in some families people move out of the district, or there's at the end of the line and there's nobody left to maintain, but we can't give approvals to go and do work on what is in essence a private asset, being the headstone.
it's something that I know is done in a lot of other cemeteries, so they must have a way. They just want to go and spray some 30 seconds to get rid of moss and give them a bit of a clean. I struggle with that concept personally, but
Mayor Brown.
The mock Muslim burial pit, could you just describe what that is?
Yes, through the chair, it's a very unique to the Muslim faith style of burial where it's not traditional as we would all have experienced in our lives. It's a pit with a narrower burial chamber at the base of it, so the mourners do actually get down into the burial pit and then place the deceased actually in the actual burial chamber at the bottom, which is then covered with timber. So given our soil types here, we don't have a soil type that allows us to dig out the grave in the normal way without shoring, given that there's mourners getting down into the hole to do the business of placing their dearly beloved departed. We have to shore it with timber. And so the trial run was making sure that the staff have got the processes squared away in their mind to get the timber fitted in the burial pit as well as the sides to maintain safety for all.
Thanks for that. Question on the Rakai 7. Is it just a paint or is it more detailed than that?
Through the chair, at this point, it's coming to the council for discussion on the 1st. We have the process outlined, but I dare say once they get into it, it will determine what is unknown and what can't be seen from the exterior. So we don't know if there's internal degradation at this point or not. So the investigation, the maintenance and the process that you will be informed of on the 1st will go some way into doing that, but there will be unknowns in terms of once they get into the actual work itself, what does that turn up inside?
It'll be done in situ, the work?
The proposal is for off-site.
If I can just add, it's actually going to be a refurbishment. So, but you'll get the information at next week's council meeting.
Councillor Cameron.
Thank you. Just following on from the Mayor's question, with regards to the Muslim burials, does that come an additional cost to the mourners or to the family?
Through the chair, that's correct, it does.
Thank you. And I have a question with regards to the domain and the ponds. They're quite low. Is that a strategy for this time of year?
Through the chair, there was a problem with the intake supply earlier in the week, so that's currently being addressed.
Okay, and there's a lot of rubbish in them, like rubbish bags and bits and pieces, leaves. They need a good clean out. There's the main pond has been cleaned out, but the other channels need a. Is that in plan, or what's the plan for that?
There is regular cleaning of the road cones and bags that we do get blown around and thrown in. The full clean outs do tend to only happen more spasmodically, but it's also an access issue. So we do have staff with waders that go in and suitably trained to work in pairs and do that sort of thing. Because
I would think with the low, that would be good timing, because there's a lot of, you need to dig the leaves out every now and then, don't you, because it gets a bit gluggy. I did have one additional question, which I've temporarily forgotten. I'll think of it in a moment.
Yeah.
Thank
you. Councillor Lovett.
I'm just noticing a lot of the parks and reserves have seating in them. Is it your aim to put seating in all our little parks around town? Because I know it's very much appreciated by the elderly.
Through the chair, that is the plan by design, that most reserves will have some seating definitely for the elderly, and we certainly get the feedback it's appreciated by the community that do get out and exercise around town and need a spell from time to time.
It has been noticed by people and people making comment because it gives the incentive to go into these parks and they can sit for a while and then trundle home. And the other question I had was in your reserves and that your footpaths, do you inspect them often for like mobility scooters and things to be able to get into them and drive around? Because I know one or two ladies had a couple of issues, and I thought, well, I did say to them to snap send and solve it in. Do you do an annual inspection and just to check?
In short, we don't do the annual inspection, but staff are aware of and keep an eye on things as they go around. But the snap send solve methodology, if someone's got a specific problem, specific place, that's what we would advise residents to do.
Councillor Wilson.
3 questions, if I may. First question is on I note that the staff are starting scoping a project on to update the open spaces strategy. With that, when will councillors get involved? Because obviously the domain and all that it's one of our biggest costs, as you'd say. It's one of our biggest cost centres. We spend 6 million, I think it is, something like that. A lot of money there each year. So we need to be involved in that from the outset. So when would you see that happening?
Through the chair, the policy and strategy team are running that process, and they will certainly keep the council involved, and there will be a workshop required as part of that process in due course, and Tony can probably add to that.
Yeah, Tony.
Thank you. So this will be a topic of discussion with the new term of council. Mark will be able to give you some more details when he comes in from S&P side of things, but it's certainly not intended to be done in isolation of elected members.
And another question for me. It's to do with the water race. You just touched on it then with the domain ponds being down. Have you put your mind to what you'll be presenting to the water race closure committee so we can understand where the council stands in those with respect to the ponds and that, because that's looming very quickly, and if nothing's put in, we'll assume that you're happy for them to not require it effectively.
Through the chair.
We probably want constructive stuff. We don't want to say just got to stay open. We need constructive. That's what I'm asking.
Yeah, through the chair, we've got the open spaces planner and the biodiversity advisor working in that space, and reviewing what's going on through that area, and to have something ready for that process when the time comes.
And the last one, probably the more difficult one, the Hinds Reserve Board. As you know, the Hinds Reserve it has the most used public toilets in the county, or New Zealand, I would say, as Trump would say, New Zealand, in them. And it also has the septic tank system uses the Hinds, the Southern Rugby Club uses it, the Rifle Club use it, and the fire use it. And your set's mentioned on page number 19. And I'd probably take umbrage with the word that the use of public conveniences by the community, and more so passing state highway travellers, is one key driver of the system being overloaded, but the other 2 drivers are actually, they're no greater than what they was designed for in the first instance. Can you comment on that? Where that whole thing's going?
Look, through the chair, I just yesterday scheduled a site visit, and it's been loaded with the reserve board and members of the associated clubs there on site that are subscribers to this system. That meeting it's a site visit, will take place with the original system designer on the 6th of October, and that will allow the designer to compare current day usage and information with his original 2015 designs. We know there's a disconnect, but it will allow him to do the full calculations of what is required now, what his assumptions were, and what his assumptions should be in the future. So my intention is that this information will be ring-fenced into a project that will require some funding, and that is targeted for this year's annual plan discussions.
But just to inform the rest of the council what's happening, the Southern Rugby Club have got the champion women's team, and there is funding available through the rugby union, I think that's right, Liz, to upgrade changing rooms. It's sort of it's a push that they're doing, and Southern want to upgrade their changing rooms to make them non-sexist and women-friendly, but at the moment the sticking point is whether they can discharge into the septic tank system. So it's a matter of urgency. They want to try and get it for next season, but I think that's the reason I'm asking.
Thank you. I think that's the New Zealand Rugby Infrastructure Fund or something like that. Councillor Mackle.
Thank you. A couple of questions, if I may. Gordon's work earlier is doing work on plots around the cemeteries that are held. How many plots are not held?
Through the chair, sorry, I can't give you that information off the top of my head.
So in other words, we do have plots around that there are no records for, and is there some work being able to scan those plots to know exactly where they are, so we don't disturb?
Yeah, through the chair, that work has started. In the last few months, we have scanned the ground penetrating radar through Chertsey Cemetery, Bar Hill Cemetery, and Hinds Cemetery for unknown or suspected issues of burials that are unmarked.
Yeah, great news. And the other question is back to the salmon. The base of that, I understand, is welded, possibly for securing it as such. So that needs to be ground off. This is going to be the second, I believe, refurbish of the salmon. Is there some way for future use that while that's off, we can put large bolts there for ease in future?
Through the chair, the staff and the engineers doing that will discuss that at the time, because it certainly is something where, like any asset, it does need regular and ongoing maintenance, and just cutting it off and re-welding it time and time again is not a good long-term solution. So absolutely take your point, something that's detachable would be desirable.
Thank you.
Councillor Cameron.
Thank you. Just a couple of quick questions. The question I wanted to ask earlier was a little island in the pond. What's the ETA for that planting?
Through the chair, that's the very small one that's generally looking quite devoid of.
Yeah, and it was going to be native. I think in the original it was going to be native.
Yes, I believe that has been replanted just recently. It probably looks like it hasn't been, but it's the little small native water grasses.
So planted in the last month, sort of thing.
Correct.
Okay, thank you. And one more question: you're going to put new paths in the domain? I understand in the long-term plan. Where are they planning to go, or it's got new infrastructure in the long-term plan? I just don't know where else you can put paths.
Through the chair, there is a footpath scheduled to go adjacent to the driveway, which is from the paddling pool area down to the playground, because there's only the driveway there. So you may have noticed a recent addition, which is a new pipe and pipe uprights with chain link mesh fence, not mesh, but just chain links down the side of the driveway. We will
From where the works area is, you mean, from that driveway?
Yes, opposite that.
Yeah.
So where the newly proposed pump track is going to go, we will not do any of the path works there until that's in, but it will also form a linkage to the revitalised playground area at the same time. So there will be a linkage that goes right through
So
there.
that means that people are parked that are coming from the roads walk down the footpath. Is that what you're saying? You know, from Walnut Ave or whatever.
Yes, they can come into the domain and then walk under the trees in a pathway that
And
goes
how
right
many
from the
metres do we
toilets.
get for $51,000 of path?
Sorry, I can't tell you that off the top of my
I'm just
head.
thinking of other paths we need around the district. You know. Yeah. Thank you.
Councillor Ellis.
Thank you. Just with all the development on the eastern side of town, new subdivisions off Albert Street going right through to Smithfield Road and so on, is that going to trigger a new playground requirement, or are they linking into the Braybrook one? Will that be within 400 metres?
Through the chair, no, it won't. There is an additional requirement, so there is a new playground and reserve area on the. It'll be on the side of the Marshall's Creek, which flows right through the Strowenfield subdivision. 3/4 of the way down there is a playground area. Currently, detailed design is being undertaken for that with their planner in conjunction with the developers.
And any public toilets on the eastern side of town?
There will be a site made available at that location. At this stage, we don't believe we can fund it from within the reserve contribution, but we will certainly make capacity available for it at that site.
Mayor Brown.
As you just look at the Chinese village, and you've been planting some cherries in there and kowhai and additional trees, do you have a plan on what is to be planted so it all fits with the makeup of the area, so it all fits?
Yeah, through the chair, at the opening of the Chinese village, there was on the wall inside one of the sheds, there was a landscape design plan of the entire site. So that is the plan that we're working to. It was done by Tracy Ower, who had a lot of input with the design development and updating of that entire site. So that's the plan we're following.
Right. It looks quite smart up there, what you're doing. It's good. Yes.
Good,
Yeah.
yes.
Councillor Lovett.
Just going to the Harris Reserve, and you're looking for the vision at the site. And I know we've got the model aeroplanes who operate out of there on a frequent basis. Will they be involved in these discussions? You know, are they their airfield they use? They will be protected. They won't be sort of pushed out or having to look for a new home.
Sorry, could you please repeat the issue there?
The model aeroplane people operate out of the Harris Reserve.
Yes.
And you're looking at the current management's the vision for the site. So are you looking at the future of plantings or the future of like these ones who operate out of here, or?
Through the chair, there is no plans to make any change to the leasee, the Aero Club on the site. They do provide a level of activity on the site, which also equates to some security by doing covertly.
That's good to know. I've been up there a few times and watched them fly their planes, and it is entertaining. It's really good to see.
Yeah. Thank you. Any questions on biodiversity on page 20? Councillor Wilson.
I was at the Canterbury, part of the Canterbury Biodiversity Champions, which were involved in the Canterbury ECAN's new biodiversity strategy. Has Christian made any comments on that strategy? Because I see it was adopted on the 17th of September.
Through the chair, Christian did have some input into those meetings, and with his fellow ecologists around the region.
Will he be coming back to us how it affects us?
I can certainly get him to report back to the council, if you like, on what the impacts are for this council. Yeah.
Thank you. Anything else? No, I think we're all good. Thanks, Ian. That was a lot of questions.
Thank you.
Next we have Hernando and Chrissy. Hernando on solid waste management, page 22. Morning. Any questions on page 22 through? Lots of good information there. Councillor Hooper.
Thank you. CRMs in July and August seemed there was a bit of a spike for both of those months, and it looks like they've got some new drivers starting around there. Is that anything to do with contract changes, and is that sort of the main reason for those spikes in the CRMs?
Through the chair, there were some changes in their drivers in the past few months, because some have been sick and some have resigned. So they hired new drivers, and that's causing the CRMs to spike up at the moment.
Yeah, supplementary, if I may.
Yep.
Thank you. The illegal dumpings were especially high in July, with 19 compared to sort of 7 and 8 other months. Were any of those illegal dumpers caught up with and made to pay and fined, etc.?
Yeah, through the chair. If there are evidences in the dump that can be traced to the owner, we are tracking down the owners, but none of them have identities, so we just address them.
Okay, so none of those 19 were caught up with?
No.
Councillor Ellis.
Thank you. I see the 12,000 FOGO bins, their contract has been awarded. When are we planning on getting those out to the public, and how is that happening?
So the program that Zulu has given us is that they will start manufacturing in June, and then they will be delivered in Ashburton sometime mid-July, and we will start delivering them to the houses late July and the whole of August for around 3 to 4 weeks.
So we are delivering?
No, Wasteco is going to deliver it.
Councillor Lovett.
Right, just a question that's been running through my mind for a wee while. The bins that, we've got private contractors going around the community, often on farms, picking up the big bins of rubbish. do they get sorted, or does that go straight through to Cape Valley?
To the chair, some of the contractors are bringing their own rubbish to the resource recovery and they pay for it. And some of them we don't know where they bring it, whether they bring it directly to a landfill, we don't know.
Right, okay.
Councillor Wilson.
Could you make a comment on, I think one of the other financial ones, we had a higher than expected cost in the, I'm guessing it's the, if I just said blankly, that where the TVs get recycled, is that, could you expand on what's happened with that? You know, because it was a bigger cost, I think, we've found than what we've been expecting.
Through the chair, that's the disposal of the TVs and whitewares and everything. It spikes once in a while. Some years very low and sometimes it's very high, so we're not able to properly plan for what budget we will put in that category. It's just that last year it was really very high.
Hamish?
I had a cause to have a meeting with Tony McCormack from RDR yesterday, and they've of course had the maintenance period for the race, and he said they have discovered increased dumping in the canal channel, including whiteware and a whole host of sort of household stuff. So that's obviously been tipped into the canal at some point in the middle of the night, and only discoverable once there's no water in the canal. So that there is ongoing issues in all sorts of places for the disposal of things like whiteware / illegal dumping.
So for the next annual plan, will we have a much better feel? Because obviously we don't want to be out of kilter with, we don't want to have fly dumping, but we don't want to be out of kilter with, say, Rolleston, so everybody drives to Hind, Ashburton to dump their stuff. We need to understand that process, don't we, better? We have that for the next annual plan.
Through the chair, yes.
Mayor Brown?
Yeah, how's the transition from the, with the new contract coming up, for the new contractor, how's that transition work going?
Through the chair, we have fortnightly meetings with Wasteco starting 2 months ago, and we have already met with, there's already a meeting between Environs and Wasteco last month, and even today they will be meeting again.
And how's the transition going?
It's quite smooth, yeah.
On track.
They're already talking of how the transition would be when Environs said Wasteco is going to step in before Environs said it's going to move out. So they're already talking those levels.
All on track.
Yep.
Yes, no, I can confirm they are on track, following the program that they presented, and it's going well between the two parties. Yep.
Any other questions through the report? Councillor Wilson?
Are we doing Stockwood at the same time?
We're going to go to that next, so if there's nothing else on waste, then yes, go for it, Stockwater.
Chrissy, obviously we're across where the transition's going. With respect to, do we have much damage? Because we've been in a very good place for damage over this recent weather event.
Through the chair, we've actually, last week we had to reinstate 3 intakes, and this week we're also reinstating the same intakes, except more damage this week than last week. Every time we're getting these spikes of rain up in the hills at the moment, it's causing, we're just losing the intakes, taking the channels out and damaging stuff.
Thank you. Anything else on Stockwater, page 34, 35 and 36? No.
I can make a quick comment with the Stockwater transition group. We are moving forward, and so I think the last meeting they're sort of stacking up, you could say. We're doing this, people going out and seeing the public, and that's working very well because everybody's getting a chance to put their bit in. Now we're just trying to compile and see where the decision could land. But at the same time, we're working with other providers, which other providers could be the irrigation schemes, it could be other schemes that are doing it. We're just trying to nail that down so that then when we present it and bring it back to council, council can see the pathway forward and see how it could all work. And that's perhaps what I was alluding to with Ian about we need solutions, not just I want my stock water race and the council need they want water in the domain pond. We need a solution. Well, how would you expect the water to get there and who would pay? That's sort of what we're looking for. People to think of how it would be feasible to do that, not just I want it, because I want it's not an easy option for us to work through.
Councillor Lovett.
Just thinking, the domain has a stock water race. Is there a stock water race going into it? Will that be affected in the future if that race closed down? How will the ponds get their water?
That's exactly what we need to consider and work out. Yeah, that's one of the challenges we face. Yeah.
And I think through you, Madam Chair, Council keep in mind that the exiting of the stock water system was largely driven by a perceived unfairness of how the network was paid for, as opposed to the benefit that it was providing in other ways. So if the network has other values, amenity values or cultural values or biodiversity values or domain values, then why should the people who access stock water be paying for those values? And that's a big part of the rationale behind the strategy to exit. But of course the answer to that question still needs to be worked through.
Councillor Wilson.
Can give comfort. We're not saying that we're going to drain the domain ponds and shut them off. That's not on the agenda. No. It's more, we just have to think of creative ways to get it there. And if it's environmental flow, we have our friends in Christchurch who are very difficult in that space. So we just need to work through it and hopefully get some work together. And we've got a meeting on Thursday. I'll be asking those questions about how they're helping us, not hindering us.
And just further to that, it's why the language of this program is so critical. It's not closure, it's exiting the stock water service. And that distinction is really critical to the other values that the network has.
Thank you. Any other questions on stock water? I see on page 36 and 37 there's just sort of an overview of all the races and which is really good to see. No. Thanks, Chrissy. So next we'll go to roads and footpaths. Mark here. Thank you, Mark. Reports on page 39. And question from Councillor Ellis.
Hello, Mark. Just with our reduction in NZTA funding, when do you think the Allens Road footpath extension down to Lockley might get onto the work program, or is that an unlikely event?
In terms of our funding for maintenance operations renewal, we got what we asked for is that other project stuff like Osiris. So it would be when council decide to fund it, basically. So if there's a will or a desire to do the upgrade of that road, whether it's footpath, curb and channel, it'll probably be something that needs to be considered as part of the annual plan and put it forward as a project. So.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Cameron.
I was going to talk about footpath maintenance. And we've got $115,000 in there, is that right? And how are you prioritising the maintenance for that? Just on...
Based on inspections, reports coming in, CRMs. We've also got $150,000 in there unsubsidised to bolster that as well. So that's something we need to consider for the future as well. So,
thank you.
Yeah.
Could that be diverted to other causes, e.g. the new footpath?
It could be if council want to make that decision, but it's been decided to spend that unsubsidised money on those various projects like the reseals for $1 million and footpaths and other things as well. Sure. So,
yeah. I'm not suggesting, I'm just asking.
Yeah.
So I just want to clarify the project around Allens Road. Mark is 100% right. We have currently no plans to do it. And I know that there is a lot of interest in the community. I know it's gone all the way to our local MP who has also made inquiries of myself and I think the Mayor, and we have advised all those people interested in that project that is not currently on the work program and the budget doesn't currently support it at all, and if that is a matter of that needs changing, they need to make submissions to budget allocation systems, i.e. the annual plan or the long-term plan, to include it in the in the work program. At the moment, it is not in the work program at all, and we've advised all the people who make that inquiry accordingly. So we get a lot of feedback in the office about that very
That
same
particular area
that same
roading.
thing.
Yep.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Yeah.
We have $51,000 in the plan, in the annual plan, for an emergency road or something at the back of EA Networks. Do you manage that, or is that's in the EA Networks budget? What is that? Is that managed by them? Like, there's a lot of sealing going on in the district in different budgets. Like, we've got the $51,000 footpath upgrade in the domain, 51,000 at EA Networks. How is that?
I'll go to Sarah. Sarah's got.
There's Sarah.
Yes,
Sorry, I didn't.
no,
see you.
no, absolutely fine. Through the chair, we work really closely with the roading team, and when we did the extra widening of the entranceway into EA, the roading team were all over it and key participants in that process. So we use their processes, their rates, and their information and knowledge about assessing the tenders. It's not a road, so it is a property matter. In terms of the entranceway, and we postponed that project recently in lieu of the replacement money to be used for pool filters. So that project isn't in this coming year anymore.
Okay, so that will come out of the plan this year. And
yeah, it already has, and we've earmarked.
I just had a quick look, and I had checked it last night, and it's still there. But I've gone online to look at it.
Yes, and I think that will be the snapshot in time. They don't get updated as it happens. But yeah, that project has been paused with the replacement project using that money.
Thank you.
Councillor Wilson.
Mark, the shingling we're doing is making a difference, as we saw through our survey of things. So that's good. Let's make sure you understand that feedback. So shingling does make a difference. And now, can you make a comment though on it's coming up to tar sealing season. What's the market doing? Because in the last few years we've just faced the price going up and we get less road for our money. Can you comment on what the market's doing with regards to sealing? So how much Ks we get for $1 sort of thing?
The contract's been awarded to ACL for 2 years, so that's the market rate that's there. There's a bit of an increase, but not out of kilter of what we've been spending in the past. So the cost dollars per kilometre overall hasn't changed that much. It's gone up a wee bit, but it depends on what type the seal is. And when we did the extra seals a couple of years ago, there was mainly simpler single coat seals, which actually cost a bit less because less binder on. They cost less per square metre, but overall there's not much change. The market does vary a wee bit depending on what happens with oil and all that sort of thing. So we're at the whim of what's happening overseas as much as anything else, but not a big change.
But so the oil price is quite low at the moment, effectively, relative to where it's been. So that hasn't.
Yeah, it takes a while to come through, but the cost fluctuations, all that that we have for reseals, is done monthly, whereas most other construction and maintenance is done quarterly. So, but because it's so volatile, they do it monthly for bitumen, which can be a good thing if it goes down, and not a good thing if it goes up. So.
Councillor Lovett.
Right, I was just at the early strategy meeting the other morning, and just going back to footpaths, especially where they go out onto where they cross onto the roads, and that's on their radar in future. So how often do you ever go out and look at where people cross in these, because they're becoming very popular, the mobility scooters, just accessing, getting off the footpath on crossing the road? It was a concern some of them had.
Yeah, currently, if someone comes in and says they have a particular problem at a particular location, then we look at that and remedy that just with the funding we have. And so that does happen. Looking at the whole network, there's a lot of old curb and channel and old crossings and things like that that are a bit steep for mobility scooters. But if they come to us, then we'll look at it and we can do it as part of our footpath maintenance when we're doing other work in the area. Or if it really needs something, we'll do it as a one-off project. And it's normally under our renewals funding that we have for footpaths, rather than, it's not a capital work, so it's renewing what's there. But old designs aren't very friendly for mobility scooters. So yeah, they need to be as flat as they can be. So, yeah.
Right.
Councillor Mickle.
Thank you. Mark, the district experienced some high winds of recent, and driving up country just recently, I've noticed a number of signs still laying on the ground. Should that not be a high priority after an event like that to get those signs back together?
Yes, it is. So I know they've been, they're aware of them and have replaced some. Regulatory signs get done quicker than some of the other signs, but yes, they do need to be reinstated.
Yep. So how many are you aware of, and how many are left to be dealt with?
I haven't got the numbers, but I'll check up with the team though. So
Yeah, it does need to be checked up.
the main thing was clearing trees and branches down the road was the main focus for a start, but the signs certainly need to be done as well. So, yeah.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Councillor Hooper.
Thank you. Local road improvement marks. Is there somewhere that I can find the forward works program for street lights, or do you have a program or a plan as far as street lighting goes?
For new street lights?
Well, and footpath lighting as well.
So new footpaths or footpath maintenance?
I'm mainly thinking of Tarbotton's Road, which is one I've had some feedback about.
Well, we've got no funding for new street lights at the moment, so there is no program for it. It's something that we, again, will have to come back to council probably as part of the annual plan and ask for funding for that, and so new footpaths as well. So we normally it'd be something done under our low cost, low risk funding, which get subsidy for, which we haven't got, and unlikely to the next year, the next 3-year program. We'll see how they go with NZTA, but it needs to be an annual plan one and done as unsubsidised. Out of the funding we put aside as unsubsidised, and we can allocate some to that, or as a separate project. So just like Allen's Road, we wouldn't get subsidy for that either. Under low cost, low risk, you can do those small projects, but probably doing them unsubsidised is the only way we're going to get them to do now if the council put money towards it. So yeah,
thanks.
Councillor Wilson.
The Will Street Bridge, I see that it's scheduled. It's been scope of works is being done, just because of we leave the building for a bit and then we come back and it takes us a bit to get the machine running again. So when would you expect that to come to council to have a look at? Because it says here that being worked on, intends to tender and award the contract before Christmas, because they'll have to come to council, won't it, to award that tender, because we uncertainty around what the price would be on it.
With the value of it, we wouldn't, but we can do the report to council, and normally something that's be done in delegation. So.
Yeah, no, that one wouldn't come to council. We would advise you of the result of the tender, but that falls within the CE's delegated authority. So council have included it in the work program. So you've pushed go on it. We then go through the process of tendering that work and getting on with it. But if it's within the Chief Executive's delegated authority, it wouldn't come back to council.
Just to clarify, what was the maximum price we allocated to there?
Currently, there is no maximum price. We've got our budgets for our structures overall, whether it's renewals and component replacement, things like that. So if it's more than what we're, the estimates are there at the moment, I think I will certainly have a discussion with Hamish and come to council. If we need more money for it, we'll obviously come back to you about that. So.
If I'm correct, was that around 700,000, something like that?
That's the current estimate, yeah.
And at 700,000, if it's within the budget and that's within my delegated authority, then we'll just get on with the work. If it's not within the budget or exceeds my delegated authority, that's when we would bring the decision to council.
Thank you, Councillor Mackel.
Thank you. With the recent storm up country, the road between Mount Sunday and Erawan had a washout. Has that been dealt with for access to the station?
I don't know if access was not available, but yes, they're up there working there at the moment, tidying up that road. Given the amount of rain that's up there, a lot of it wasn't as bad as what we thought it might have been, but they've inspected it and the contractor's up there doing grading and repairs now. So, and same on Double Hill Run Road, similar issues. So
to answer the question, has the access been reinstated?
They've got access up there, yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Mayor Brown.
Just clarifying on that footbridge, there was an estimate of 700,000, but the budget for all bridges and culverts, etc., is in the 1.5 million or something. So if it's more than 700,000, it still fits in the budget. But it would, if it was, I say, 800,000 or 900,000 or $1 million, then you could still sign it off, or would you bring it to council?
Good question. We would need to reflect on the total picture. So the individual piece of work is vastly different from what we estimated. Then we would bring it back to council. If it's broadly within the area and still within the overall budget, we probably wouldn't. So there'd be a judgment call to be made as to how that looks in comparison to the package of work. For example, if it was over the estimate for that particular job, but within an overall budget, but the implications of doing the work because it was meant that other work couldn't be done, then we imagine that would be a matter that council would have an interest in, and we'd bring it to council. Yeah. So it's about degree, really, Mr. Mayor. Yeah.
Yes, and we allocated some funding in there unsubsidised to sort of cover that to an extent, but Hamish is quite right. We would certainly come back to you if it looks as though it's sort of way more, we want more money, we'd have to sort of look at that project and where we could actually make some changes or whatever. So, yeah.
Thank you. Any more questions on roading and footpaths?
Just had a couple of things I was going to add, which I missed at the start. So there's just the error on page 43. It says contract is awarded to Fulton Hogan, but it's actually awarded at Grant Hood. It's in the table at the end, but it just in the wording I got it wrong. So, and that's looking at starting next week on Forwards Road. Council love it; they want to know. So.
Thank you.
And then they'll be working to Long Beach Road. The other one, I just had a call from Kiwi Rail, an update on the viaduct. They've done a design for replacing the damaged timber beams at the front that provide protection, and they're going to replace them with steel ones. They just need to check the abutment can handle the beam and the attachment to it, and I think they're talking to Heritage New Zealand as well about any changes they can make for it. So it's progressing. It's fairly slowly, but Kiwi Rail are working on it, and the guys are trying to chase the other team and Kiwi Rail to get it done as quickly as they can, but that closure is sort of staying in place until they can do that repair. So.
That's good. A good update. Thank you. Councillor Ellis.
I was going to tenders, sorry, I thought.
Oh, okay. Yep. So thank you. Thanks, Mark. We'll go next to contracts and tenders on page 44. Councillor Ellis, you've got a question?
Thank you. I'm just a little bit confused because I see we've awarded the tender for 215,000 to repair the salmon, yet we've just been told it's coming to council on the 2nd. So which one's correct?
Yeah, through the chair. That's an error. The Rukaya salmon structure should be in the above table. It hasn't been awarded yet. It's coming to council next week. That's a mistake.
I'm confused when there's one tenderer, one price, and
it's coming to council for funding, a decision on how to fund that work.
Councillor Mackel.
Were you looking for more tenderers for that job and locally, or is it out of town?
Yeah, we did. We went on tender links. It was publicly advertised, open to anyone. It's, however, very specialised type work, and we only had the one who is actually the person who initially created it, I think, and built the structure.
That makes sense. Yes.
Thank you. Any, Councillor Hooper?
Yeah, just on that, what's Ian sort of saying that there's more investigation work to be done, that we've got a tender price there, but we don't know what's going on inside the structure?
I think they're really good questions, but honestly, you're going to get a full report next Wednesday.
Yes. Yep.
So without the report and the information there, it's a bit hard to answer. We regret that that's in the wrong place and it's generated this conversation, but you will get all the information you'll need next Wednesday.
Thank you. Councillor Lovett. On tenders?
Can I just move on to Lakewood?
Oh, yeah, we'll move on to Lakewood.
Yeah. When does the wheat harvesting season start? We're getting the spring growth now.
It's most likely will start sort of October, November is when we started last year. Yep.
Okay.
I think it started yesterday. They had the mower out.
What's that, sorry?
I think there was some mowing done yesterday. I think. Yeah, I think so.
The weed harvester? Not aware of it unless they were using it for something else.
Maybe, I don't know. Yeah. Someone just told me at Bridge last night.
Okay, they may have just been clearing an area where we're looking at doing trials. Yep. And also we will be doing some survey work next week, so it could be related to a boat that's going to be doing bathymetric survey next week for the hydrodynamic model.
Another question.
Just with regards, Neil, for the activities at Lakewood to improve the water quality out there, and you've got all these people that are interested in helping us improve the water quality, are they charging for their help, or is that they're interested in being
No,
involved in?
so the trials are on the basis that they pay for everything. We'll set up the trials and have the students and the professor available to do all the work, monitoring, recording, and the study. They are to provide all their stuff free, no cost to us.
Oh, marvellous. That's great.
And we did get a very good response of 15 registrations. We need to get that down to about 5, because that's how many we can physically undertake in that canal. We'll shortlist them according to what Professor Susie Wood feels is the most likely to succeed, as well as, from our perspective, the costs. When we asked him to register, we asked him to give us an indication of cost of applying their product or the instrument, installing the instrument, what is likely to be an annual cost. And if it's excessive, we won't consider those. So we're going to look at some the most cost-effective options that Susie recommends.
And have the readings been quite low?
There hasn't been any testing. The testing doesn't start yet.
Okay.
ECAN testing, you mean?
Yes.
Yep.
When does that start?
I think it starts in November.
Okay. Any further questions? No, thanks, Neil. We'll have a break now for, I know it says 20 minutes, we're going to go 15. So back here at 10:50. Welcome back, everyone. So we're starting now with compliance and development, and we've got Michael Wong from Building Services here, page 45 through to 50. Any questions? Thank you, Councillor Ellis.
Thank you. Welcome, Michael. I just made the comment before, it's very busy out there at the moment. Talking to your cohorts around the country, is this area sort of bucking a trend that we seem to be busier than a lot of other districts?
Through the chair, yes, we seem to be floating above the normal waves. I suppose we're at the crest of the wave. We've always been that way. We don't have the big peaks and troughs of the other districts. We seem to have a gentle rolling cycle throughout the years. So we've been able to keep on top of that.
Councillor Wilson.
Are we seeing out-of-town building companies come in? Because obviously the slowdown elsewhere coming in, and is their quality work as good as we expect from local contractors?
Through the chair again, yes, there are out-of-town building firms coming in, and we treat them the same as our local builders and keep an eye on them and make sure they do the same, because in some districts they have different types of inspections and we have different ones here, so we just got to make sure that they understand the rules that we work under as well.
Councillor Brown.
Thank you. Can you tell us how many spec houses we have here in Espiriton or not? Because there's a lot of seems to be.
Through the chair, yeah, there are. We're up again with houses, and this current month is just the same as July and August. We're way ahead of normal. The state house? Yeah, so with the spec houses, hard to tell because some of the builders, especially the out-of-town builders, put them in their own names before they on-sell them, so the consent comes in under their name rather than the applicant's name. And then we have the state housing going on as well through Kaingora.
Councillor Wilson.
With the legislative change coming, where they're trying to talk about making it bigger, do you actively work with other councils to try and, you two were slightly different, to make things, new legislation on granny flats and all that, to make them consistent so that when someone comes here, they're consistent with elsewhere? Yes, so
the Ashburton District's part of the mainland group, which is the top 13 councils of the South Island. So I'm a co-director on that. So we've had various meetings about making sure that we treat everybody the same and get that consistency, because that's the biggest thing. Customers want consistency. So we've had meetings about down to the naming of inspections to make sure that they're consistent for all the group home builders that work throughout the different districts, but also the same way of interpreting the granny flat rules and making sure that that is consistent as well. And I've been lucky enough to be on a workshop with MB on that and been able to feedback some things, or some thoughts, I suppose, about how to get that consistency.
Hamish?
Michael's been very modest. We've been delighted that Michael's expertise in this area has been recognised by MB and that he's been included in some of those workshop discussions. So a feather in Michael's cap, but also great that the perspectives from this environment here and context that we operate in is being reflected in that national work. So we're very pleased that Michael's been included in that work.
Thanks, Hamish. Councillor Todd.
Thank you. It's just a question around it. If other councils get behind in their consents and that, do you actually help process their consents, or do you work in tandem if one council's behind in certain work that you help out? Is that an option? Yes, we do. Last year we helped Selwyn out with inspections because they were a bit behind. In the past we've helped Christchurch process consents as well, and they've helped us. So we all have a memorandum of understanding between the councils that we can share resources.
Excellent. Any more questions for Michael? No? Thanks, Michael. Moving on, Civil Defence Emergency Management. Welcome up, Jim, page 51 through. Anything else to add, Jim?
No, nothing further.
Any questions? Councillor Mackel.
Thank you, Jim. You went to a demonstration from the Rapid Relief Team looking at their sandbagging machine, which can fill, I see, 800 sandbags in air. And they can deploy that machine throughout the South Island, I believe, in the event of a flood risk. Do we have a stock of sand available somewhere for that sort of situation? No point having the machine without the sand.
Through the chair, yes, through our relationship with ACL, we have the ability to get sand. We've also identified an area we could deliver that to, and where we could set the machine up. And if we didn't require the machine, we also are working through a process where members of the public could come and fill their own sandbags at that same location. So, yeah, it's a kind of an SOP we've come up with working with ACL.
Yeah, so having that sand available, how many tonne is on standby then at any certain time?
So we've got an undertaking for a truck and trailer load, which is around about 15 tonne.
Which is how many sandbags?
So a truckload will do those 800 sandbags. So it is, you're looking around about 1,200 sandbags that could be filled with that sand that we could procure immediately, but we can get more if we needed it.
Thank you.
Councillor Hooper.
Thank you. G'day, Jim. The Southern Republic visits to North and South Rangi. Why does the likes of the EMO from Waimate need better understanding of what's going on at North Rangi, for example?
Through the chair, we may cover for each other, so we may the Waimate EMO may provide cover for us. We also, because of our MOU that the Mayor recently signed on our behalf, we can deploy into their locations and they can deploy into ours. So having an understanding of the risks that we all face within our districts is it's quite essential for all of the EMOs to have that understanding. So that's why we were on that sort of road trip. Thanks.
I've just got a question on the sandbags. So is it up to our Civil Defence Emergency team to provide sandbags to people if they need them? How does it work?
So we have recently come up with I put a memo to the executive team to discuss this. What we've done is worked it out with ACL to get the sand delivered to a location. Then we would put out advertising. We would set up some sandbagging stations. They would have instructions on how to fill a sandbag, how to build a sandbag wall, and there would be empty sandbags available there, shovels, etc., and some hoppers to help them fill them. On the understanding that once they had taken possession of those sandbags, they become theirs to dispose of at a later date. So there are a number of councils that don't do sandbagging. Christchurch City, for example, the numbers they would need just are beyond belief. So we don't have a huge number of people calling for them, but after that last rain event, you had to call me. We've looked into it and come up with a process going forward.
Thank you. Any other questions for Jim? No, thanks, Jim. Next we have Rick up. First on page 55, alcohol licensing, bylaw monitoring and enforcement. Morning, Rick.
Morning. Thank you, Councillor.
Any questions on that, Councillor Ellis?
Thank you. Morning, Rick. The on-off club new applications, and there were 3 of them in August, so that's for new businesses that are setting up. So is that like bottle stores or restaurants that want to be licensed as well?
Thank you, through the chair. Yes, that's correct.
So was it restaurants or was it new bottle stores to town? Or
The ones I'm familiar with are new bottle straws. What we are intending to do, though, just to let you know, is there's some on the reporting side. We now report directly to Arla on stats and premises and the applications. What we intend to do is expand our activity brief that you've got there, so you can see what's happening and what applications are coming in.
Because obviously they all meet our requirements then for our bylaw around liquor
Yes.
sales and off licence.
Yeah.
Animal control on page 57. Any questions on that? Mayor Brown.
Just dog numbers in total over the years. We don't go back many years. Are total dogs registered over the years increasing, decreasing, or staying about the same?
Through the chair, if I did get the question right there, regards the numbers coming in, there is a tidy up always going on in the background that deals with dead dogs, dogs who left the district, and so on, and that's why you'll see fluctuating totals.
I'm more asking the dog numbers we have today. What are they like compared to 5 years ago? Have they increased, or are we getting more dogs in the district, or are we getting less dogs in the district, or about the same?
Thank you. It's through the chair. It's not a difficult question to answer, but there are varying parts of that, because in the past we were not as actively following up on unregistered dogs. There were a far greater number of unregistered than there are now, and equally the fluctuation of animals leaving the district and so on. I can look at that for you and come back to you with a comparison report or a comparison note in a future activity.
Over previous years. And it'll only be the dogs that are registered because they're the only ones you know about. In theory.
In theory, yes.
Yeah, thanks.
We'll move to food safety, page 59. Any questions on that? Councillor Ellis.
Thank you. So you've done some audits there, which is great. All passed okay, no issues there around food safety?
Thank you. Through the chair, there has been some with minor corrective actions, but on the whole, all are satisfactory, shall we say? Yes.
A question from me: how often do you inspect the mobile shops? Is that when they first start up, and then annually, or how does it work?
Thank you. So through the chair, with mobile shops, they have the initial registration and initial inspection of that to see if they meet the standards for both the vehicle and the food safety side, because obviously there's gas and electrical safety to consider, as well as the food safety and the vehicle itself, WAF inspections and so on. So all of that is covered initially, and then they will get infrequent targeted visits. And for the likes of the market day, I did some inspections then.
Oh, I see. Thank you. Councillor Todd.
Thank you. Sorry, just go back to page 58. Just on under attack for dogs, is that attack, like physically attacking people? Are these roaming dogs, are they, or? There was 3 in July and 6 in August.
Thank you. Through the chair, the ones there's a mixture there of dogs on animals and some on dogs on persons, but not the ones that I'm familiar with, and not serious. Okay. But the ones of interest will be reported on in the next activity brief, because there was an incident that's on investigation at the moment that will be reported on.
Thank you. Councillor Mackel.
Yeah, the attacks seem to be happening regularly. What's the policy, Rick, of taking your dog for a walk? You know, do they have to be under a lead, or what's the go there?
Thank you. Through the chair, the first rule of thumb with dogs going out into public is that they must be on a lead, unless otherwise directed by signage, by coming across to say a dog park where you are permitted to then have the dog off lead.
So these occurrences, are they mainly off lead or a bit of a balance of both?
Mainly off lead, wandering situation or leaving a premise.
Yep, thank you.
And what Ian has asked me to point out that these dogs, when they're off the lead, must still be under effective control. There is some case law around the word effective, but basically that dog must be able to return to its owner immediately on call, and that can be via a whistle, sign, command, and so on.
Yep. So if they've been off the lead, what's the penalty for that for the owner?
It depends on where they're at. So the basic infringement is around 200, but if they're like leaving the premise and rushing, then it will increase.
Thank you.
Thank you. So anything else on food safety? No, if not, thanks, Rick. We'll move to page 60 and welcome Brad up for planning. Morning, Brad.
Good morning.
Any questions on that? I see your limb volumes are the highest for that month on record, so there's something happening out there, that's good. Any questions for Brad? No? Good report.
Sorry.
Oh, hang on, there's one. Councillor Brown.
Yep, just some people ask me about earthquake and it comes on your limb. Is that correct?
So was this for
it's an empty section in Mount Somers, and they've been told.
Oh, yeah. Yes, there is
there. How is that working?
Yeah, there's a mapped fault line out at Mount Somers, so that information's put on any limb that we get for those properties, if they're within that area.
Only in that area, so not here or something?
Yeah, it would only be where it's mapped. And I believe the fault line in Mount Somers is the only one that's really mapped on the plains in our district.
So those sections, can you build on it? Or is it basically land you can't use for housing?
It's probably possible you could. The limb doesn't really state that. The limb is more about sharing the information the council holds. I would assume that would have to be assessed through a building consent application to whether or not they can meet the standards in the building code. But the purpose of including that is just to share any information council has on that property as part of due diligence when people are purchasing.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? No. Thanks, Brad. Next we have economic development, and welcome Shelley up and report there, and busy as usual. Any questions for Shelley? Councillor Todd.
Thank you. I attended the Noodle Market, which seemed to be, or festival I should say, which seemed to be successful. Do you get feedback from the stall holders, for want of a better word, and ask them how it went and are they happy with it and any improvements, etc., etc.?
Yes, thank you. Through the chair, there is an event underway at the moment. Some anecdotal feedback was received on the night where some of the vendors sold out, so they were pretty happy with the crowd numbers at the event. But a full debrief is being prepared at the moment, encompassing everything that happened at the event.
Councillor Lovett.
I was just going to ask about Market Day, shifting it down to the centre of the street. Has it worked? Is it, just overall, has it been successful shifting it from the main street down here and not the overcrowding? And were you happy with how it went?
Thank you through the chair. I haven't yet caught up with Carol. We are intending to have a chat with her afterwards to see how it went, because it was a pilot event from a council perspective as well. From our side, we're pretty happy with the layout, and the amount of attendees didn't ever seem to be too squashed together. There was ample room across East Street here for people to mingle and move. The area directly in front of Te Whare Whakatere was purposefully left empty for people to engage, have their lunch on the lawn. There were people out there playing volleyball, which was really great, added to the vibe of the event. From a council perspective, we put on extra cleaners in the library here. Although people weren't encouraged to use our facilities, it was expected that there would be an increase. I'm yet to catch up with the cleaner yet to see what impact that had. But if that's significant, it will be a charge that we add going forward to events in that area. But overall, I think feedback we've had has been very positive.
That's good to hear. I was just looking at like the cones, orange cones, and down here around the ponds. In the future, can something better or more appealing be done around that area?
Yes, agree. I'm not sure if you came to the Noodle Festival or not, but our comms team developed some scrim that went around those gates, which hid it beautifully, camouflaged it, and was in theme with the event. It's potentially something that we purchase as council and invest in, and we can use to hide the bright orange cones in future.
Councillor Ellis.
Thank you. Very similar vein, I went to both events, and it was probably my biggest disappointment, all the money we spent on Baring Square, and then we had cones and fencing up to keep people away from some of it. I think it's time we seriously talked about it and came up with a more permanent solution. Because it's near our event centre, I believe, our event area. So, yeah.
Thank you, Councillor Mackle.
Thank you. Shelley, the Mayor's Task Force for Jobs, well used in this area. Funding for that in other districts has been restricted, I have read. Are we at any threat to that happening here?
Thank you through the chair. The funding is on an annual basis, so for this year we are secure in 6-month increments. So to reach our 6-month funding from January to June next year, we have to achieve our targets in this period. So that would be the only threat to the existing contract, but we're on schedule at the moment to hit those targets for the first 6 months. Some of the other councils, I believe, it's not a one-size-fits-all approach as to the outcomes required. So some councils or some MTFJ programs will have smaller targets depending on the size of their population and their base. So their budget is decreased to rationalise that.
Righty, thank you.
Shelley, just a question on the pedestrian count. So you obviously get the live. Did you see a big increase on Market Day for pedestrian counts?
I didn't look yesterday, to be honest. I haven't checked, is the short answer.
But we'll get that in our next activity.
Oh, actually, the pedestrian counters are on the Burnett and Tancred Street corners, so no, it won't have picked that up.
But it'll tell us
It'll tell us if they've migrated.
Yeah, and I think that was around my question is, even though people came to Market Day, hopefully they're then filtering through the rest of town to do a bit of shopping. Hamish?
That may well have happened. I think the anecdotal couple of conversations I had with some south of Havelock Street retailers were that they were happy with the change because their normal customers were able to access the shops. So I don't know that they were ever expecting a huge influx of the Market Day people into their shops. That wasn't the benefit they were looking for by the move. That they were looking for access to their place for their normal customers, and the particular couple that I spoke to were very pleased with the change because their normal people could access it as opposed to getting additional people. Yeah.
Thank you. Mayor Brown?
Yeah, just to add to Councillor Mackerel's query about the MES Task Force for Jobs. Yeah, the funding has dropped over the last couple of years, the big bulk funding, which gets distributed out of Wellington, and that's been well publicised. But it is only, we've got a 2-year funding, which we're in the final year of, so it'll have to be redone next year. We've been doing work with the ministers in charge, saying that you need to commit to this more so than what you are, listening. Louise Upston is the minister. There's another group in Wellington that runs it with all the mayors, and our deputy mayor sits on that committee, so she knows what is going on. And when a new mayor is here, Shelley and her team will brief the new mayor on the program and bring you all up to speed, whoever that is. Very good program, and it needs security of funding.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think this report highlights how strict now the criteria is around the outcomes. So you can see on page 63 and 64 there are a number of people which our coordinator is able to assist, all of which is valuable work from the point of view of employment in the community. But there's very much narrower criteria now as what can count as an outcome to justify the funding. So that's why there's various ways of describing the people being helped. It's not just enough to count them all. We have to meet the criteria that the funding is, and that criteria has narrowed right down over this last year.
Thank you. Councillor Ellis?
Thank you. And just on the citizenship ceremony, and they show the video what to do in mid-Canterbury, and we all picked up on that it's very out of date and a lot of the businesses actually don't even exist anymore. Is there some thought going into maybe, producing a new one?
Thank you through the chair. Yes, we already have some available, so they will be used at the December citizenship ceremony.
Councillor Lovett?
Just looking at, you're doing the Keep Learning Mid-Canterbury, and I'm thinking you've got a few topics here you're looking at. There's one thing that I'm wondering whether you can engage with some of the retailers of town, whether you can have some sessions and try and upskill some of the shop assistants, because the elderly thing the other day, that was one subject that was brought up about walking into shops and the reception you get. And I got that one day in town too. A shop assistant just couldn't be bothered helping. Oh, you just go online and buy it. And I thought, I'll never walk back into that shop again. And if we want to have a revitalised business sector of this town, we need the shop assistants to be engaging and welcoming. And I wonder, in this space, what could be done to help turn that around? Because you hear about it quite often.
Thank you through the chair. I've met with a few business owners in the last couple of months, and that's a theme that pops up, that they're quite happy to find, if they find somebody in the district who's got great customer service, they're willing to poach them from another business because they seem to be very hard to find or train at the moment. So as part of the Learning Network program, there will be workshops and trainings offered to businesses, and that's definitely one of the themes that's emerged as being a demand, and working with Business Canterbury at the moment as well, and they might be able to provide that training.
Councillor Hooper?
Thank you. Shelley, can you just remind us a bit about Britt Cunningham? Obviously an influencer, how many followers, etc., etc. Also, how much does her visit cost council, and do the likes of Mount Hutt, Brinkley, etc. chip in with any costs?
Thank you through the chair. Yes, so Britt and her family are here right now. They arrived in on Sunday night after the winds died down a little bit. So Britt has around 63,000 followers on Instagram. I believe at last count around about 220,000 on TikTok, and a smaller amount on Facebook. The cost to bring her to do this for Mill is sitting at around about 5,100, which has covered her flights and her accommodation. her flights in her rental vehicle, and all of the activities and hospitality and accommodation is provided by the operators at no cost, except the accommodation. In this instance, they've asked for some help to provide that, because it is a big cost. They're staying in one place across 4 days and it's 3 bedrooms. So Experience with Canterbury's budget has tipped in to help with that.
Councillor Mackel.
Thank you, Shelley. On the district promotion, some of the images and stuff that are being put out there on websites and stuff, and I see you're pushing into businesses, and one of them was named as Jetstar. With other airline companies, have we broken into that for people coming to the country? How hard is that, and is there a cost to that, to get that out there to those airline companies?
Thank you, through the chair. So the Jetstar involvement was voluntary. They've come to our site and found images that we have available. So there was no approach or relationship yet, but they've indicated that they will be in touch. In terms of working with other airlines, its short answer is no, we haven't done anything at this stage, but with our new district promotions marketing advisor in place now, that will be one of the things we work on with Christchurch NZ as well, in strengthening the relationships with Christchurch Airport and Air New Zealand. And we have had a feature in Kia Ora magazine, the in-flight magazine on Air New Zealand as well. So some of those images have been showcased.
Yeah, so the video that we have currently is actually nothing short of top class. So even as a local watching it, it's fascinating. So yeah, it would be a strong attraction, I believe, to someone sitting on an airline coming here.
Yes, agree.
Councillor Todd.
Thank you. We've got the Career Fest coming up on the 9th, which is part of the Mayor's Task Force of Jobs. Can you give us a bit of a preview of what sort of things you've got planned there, just to publicise it a wee bit?
Thank you, through the chair. So Career Fest, this is the second year that it's being run. It's an initiative that Sharon's deeply passionate about. It's marketed to all and sundry, anybody who wants to know what kind of job could I have in this district. So it's showcasing our employers and the employment opportunities available, not just your traditional employment options, but, you know, Defence Force, drone pilots, all sorts of things that we don't really think about when we're, what do you want to be when you grow up? The criteria to attend that's put to the employers is that they have an interactive display of some kind to make it very engaging. I know the Defence Force were going to bring along some big vehicles. I'm not quite sure of their names, but things like that to encourage the interactivity and the real conversation. It's marketed towards an entire family, so the kids can bring mum and dad, or the intermediate children might be coming with big brother, and they start getting an idea in their head of, that looks cool, how do I try that? They can have a go at welding or whatever the other activities are there.
Yeah, very good.
Thank you. I know it was good last year, and I think all councillors have been invited out there this year as well. Thanks, Shelley, for that. And thanks, Ian. We're now going to move on to people and facilities. Amanda's here for customer services, and report is on page 74. Hi, Amanda.
Good morning.
Any questions for Amanda? Councillor Ellis.
Thank you. Hi, Amanda.
Hi.
Just wondering how busy you've been downstairs with inquiries around the election, with people who either not received their voting papers yet or need to do special votes because they've shifted to the year. Have you seen a large influx, or?
Through the chair, yes, we have had a lot of conversations about people not receiving their papers yet. Yesterday was the first day that people could start to talk with Philippa and her crew about doing special votes. We had to sort of wait to past the 22nd to start having that conversation. But yes, it has seen a steady increase of visitors to reception and some calls as well.
Annie, I'll go to you.
Thank you. Just to give a bit more of an update. Yesterday, I think we did 7 or 8 specials, which is pretty consistent. So we're starting to have a person permanently downstairs available to help people as they come into the counter. We are also going to be available on Saturday the 4th of October from 10 o'clock till 2 o'clock. So people can pop in if they aren't able to make it during a working week. We can see us and we can get that sorted. And we'll also be there the morning of the 11th of October as well to take specials then.
Thank you. Councillor Cameron.
Thank you. Rate rebates, Amanda. They're paid for by the government, I understand. How long do you wait to get that refund, if you like?
Through the chair, that would be a better question for Erin and through the rates for the. It's actually a monthly payment, so we will submit a batch on the first 5 days of the month, and they have a payment by the 20th, and
so
that's how it should be working.
Thank you.
So the ratepayer they don't get a refund. Council gets a refund. Yeah.
Well, the ratepayer receives the rebate and pays the lesser amount, and we get reimbursed by DIA for that amount.
Yeah. Councillor Ellis.
Thank you. There's a trend out there in the market at the moment, I suppose, for people to buy like down at Lower Huckattree because of affordability, and it tends to be elderly people, but then they're not eligible for the rates rebate because of the structure that's underneath there. There's only one ratepayer, if you like, which is the association. Is there any work that can be done around that, or is that just too difficult and it's a no-go area?
Through the chair, last year or the year before, the Huckateri huts did try to seek reimbursement or the rates rebate for their people there, but understood what they had to go through. We had Tania from legal counsel talking to them, so it has tried to have been looked at, but it's probably a continue looking at it. Don't get just discouraged. Hamish?
I think the rules around the rates rebate are contained in legislation, so they are what they are in the way of challenging those ultimately rests around advocacy to central government. There's no other kind of way of influencing the rules around the scheme because it's legislatively defined.
And sometimes I think it's more to do with the Huts Society makeup as well.
Thank you. Any other questions for Amanda?
No. Can I just give a wee update with regard to the rates rebates? We have had our visit to Methven. We're currently today at Lockley for the whole day, and we've had our Rosebank sessions as well. So right on top of busyness with rates rebates. So really popular.
And you're heading out to Rakaia as well?
Yes, next week.
Do you get many people come along to those pop-up sessions?
Yes, we do. Yes, they're all full. Yeah, and they're 5-minute appointments, so we're sort of packing them in.
That's great. I'm really pleased you're doing that because I think it takes a lot of stress off people having to come in, and I know some people were having to get a family member take the day off work to bring them in to just do their rates rebate, so I think it's really good. Yeah. Thank you. Thanks, Amanda. We'll move now to the library and welcome Jane up for your first activity briefing. Hi, Jane. And report is on page 76. Is there anything you'd like to add, or just happy for questions?
No, just happy for questions.
Yep.
Thank you.
Any questions? Councillor Hooper, you go first, and then I've got one.
Thank you. Hi, Jane. The studio, I see we've got the 3 individual and group sessions. Have we got regulars who are paying for sessions in there, and how many a month are we sort of seeing in there? I guess there's people doing podcasts and things like that. How many are we getting?
My understanding is there are no commercial sessions being undertaken in the AV studio.
Is that something we're looking at doing going forward?
The intention in terms of the AV studio to date has been that it's a community facility, that it wasn't intended to be a commercial operation, and it's about teaching people to be in the studio side of things, but also to learn the actual technical side of things as well. So we've got people who are interested in sound engineering, and they're sort of tag teaming with Ben, and he's doing that sort of coaching as well on a one-on-one basis. So yes, we're really proud of the results, and it's an area that we're going to continue to focus and push out to the community because it is a really fantastic asset.
I guess if we'll hear from Ben if there's a requirement of ongoing, or it'd be nice to be able to come here every week to do my podcast. It's such a great facility, and you'd be open to that, I guess, going forward maybe.
Yeah, I think through you, Madam Chair, that there may well be opportunity to reflect on our current settings around the use of a facility like the Sound Studio. But that would be a matter, because it would be quite a change from the way it was originally set up. It would be a matter that we would bring back and talk to Council about, because the intention was not for it to be used in that way, but it may evolve to that in a deliberate fashion.
No question. Just a question from me. So I guess exam season's coming up, and I know my daughter's been coming down here and using either the rooms or the spaces to study. But have you got anything sort of planned for lots of people turning up and where to put them in, and having maybe a study area?
Through the chair, yes, we actually have started thinking about that. We have identified that the Wakanui room could be a good space for that because it's got its own toilet area, so and the tables can be moved so they can be in groups. The teenagers that come tend to study in groups as opposed to individually. There are some individuals, but mainly in groups, so they could use the tables that way. So we've identified the Wakanui room. We've also identified the Ashburton Lakes room as an area that we could set them up in as well.
Oh, that's good, thank you. Councillor Cameron.
Thank you. Thanks, Jane. Nice to see you at the end. Can you tell me the occupancy rate, please, for the rooms downstairs? You know, you've got 3 or 4 or 5 rooms where people can do private study or have little small meetings or community groups in there. Is that in the report and I can't see it?
Yes, it is. It is in the report on page 77. Yeah.
77.
77, and it shows the use for ad hoc, paid, and free bookings.
Is it other activity measures? Oh, ad hoc meeting rooms.
Yes.
So 280 people in August use those ad hoc meeting rooms.
Well, there were 280 sessions booked in those meeting rooms,
Yeah,
and
so
there may well have been more people.
Okay.
Yes.
So as an opening hours proportion, you know, like so we don't know the occupancy, we know how much has been used. I suppose I can work that out, just work out your opening hours, and if I divided that by, but I don't know how long they've been there for. Yeah. That'd be quite interesting to know whether they're 50% occupied or 23% or 100, oversubscribed.
Hamish?
Sorry, I was just going to say my understanding, and Jane was here could correct me if I'm wrong. My understanding is that that's a mixture of bookings and arriving and seeing a room free and going in and blocking it out. So if that's true, then it's very hard to define and analyse because they're not all pre-booked and organised in a particular way. So it's about use rather than a more exact, granular look.
Yeah, I suppose I was thinking of it more along the lines of the studio conversation, like what's the capacity and what's the future and all the rest of it. That's what, yeah.
Any further questions for the library? No, thanks, Jane. Next we have Alan up instead of Richard today for EA Network Centre. Report is page 81. Morning, Alan. Anything further to add?
No, nothing further to add.
Any questions? Councillor Cameron.
I have a couple of questions if I can, please. I'm sorry. The first one is, the volleyball court at the front, the sand court.
Yep.
The covering wasn't taken off over winter every day, was it? Is it going to be taken up over summer every day, or just when you have bookings for that sand court?
So it was not taken off over winter every day. The process was for people to come and see the reception staff and where we'd get staff to take it off ad hoc if needed. Throughout summer, I guess we'll probably look to see how the usage goes. If the weather's great and is planned to be great, then we can absolutely get out and take it off. But
how long if I came in and said I'd like to practice my volleyball on the sand court, how long would it take for your team to go out and take the thing off? Like, be availability, and they can't be on lunch or morning tea or whatever, can they? Or
Yes, I guess coming up to the summer season, our operations on how we do that is going to change. I believe there's some minor amendments we're going to do to the cover itself, so that we can do, I'm going to say, an initial unlock, and then players can just rock up and do it themselves in an easy fashion. So when it's not used, we actually do want it covered. Like, it stops debris and everything else to choose that as a location to be. So we want it to keep as clean as possible. So, but we want it accessible. During even the sort of autumny months, we were really pleased to see that being used, but also the grass court, which was a very, very, very cheap addition with 2 posts and a net. But it's been really great just to see the use of those facilities.
Yeah. This is not your problem, but I've been trawling through trying to find footpath money through the annual plan, and I came across assorted upgrades at EA to the tune of 118,000. What is that? There's pool, court, gym, I think they were under 3 clap. What are they planned assorted upgrades?
You are stretching my recall ability, Councillor Cameron.
Unfair. I didn't realise Richard wouldn't be here.
But there are additional capital projects. So it might be replacement of particular gym equipment. It might be lighting in the pool hall. It might be just minor equipment and for the Active Explorers program, like in terms of soft fall and things. So I can circulate the projects attached to that, but I can't recall them off the top of my head.
They're not highlighted in the annual plan that I could see the projects, and I was thinking, well, do they come? How do we get to? I mean, I understand the money is smaller amounts. They add up to 0.25% of our person's rate bill, but I understand the quantities themselves are smaller. But it would be good to know that we're not just putting money aside in case, I suppose, is my thinking. It's not in case.
And that money has been approved by council.
Yeah, absolutely.
So the time to examine the validity or the...
well, if we saw the project breakdown...
Sure, but the time to ask that question is at the annual plan when the budget is set, because it's all included in there, and whatever aggregation it is, if it's too aggregated for you...
I'll go through and have a look.
We'll give you the information now, but I'm just saying in terms of challenging the things that includes, the time to do that is the annual plan. Once council's approved it, then we are proceeding to put the work program in place. I'm sure, but we would have approved it for a line like new net or something. I don't know, because there's also the digital scoreboards in there at 103,000, which have been done. It would have been approved to whatever level of detail we gave you that satisfied your ability to approve it.
That's right.
So I don't know how detailed that was in this particular case, but at the time, council was satisfied that work should proceed. However it was described. But we'll clarify it now.
That would be, because as I said, it was an incidental finding of trawling through for footpath money.
Well done. Councillor Ellis.
Thank you. Welcome. Over summer, is there any planned shutdown of the pool? And I'm now thinking of the Hampstead pool and an outdoor, swimming area. Are there any talks going on this Christmas and what may happen?
I know we have an upcoming closure of the leisure pool, as you're aware, to fix the splash deck, and we have a weekend closure to upgrade Ellen's team in terms of their international lifeguarding certificate, but there is no pool closure over summer. We haven't embarked upon any discussions about Hampstead Pool being opening. The intention of that was a one-off scenario, given we had the close down and we had the staff availability. That's always the crux of the issue in terms of outdoor pools, especially if they're not heated. Having the weather playing ball to get the pool warm enough to actually encourage people to use an outdoor pool, and then having the staff to line up perfectly is a challenge. especially with our staffing levels generally being university students, and they clearly go back to university when the summer actually starts to be warmer. So, yeah, at this stage, no.
Councillor Mackle.
Thank you. The operating hours at the EA Centre have declined because of illness. What's been looked at to sort that as far as lifeguards? Are you actively going to lots of the college to recruit as such?
Yep.
To fill in that gap, because we need to get those hours back up. There's big expenses out there.
Yes, so those early closures have finished, which is great. We were going through a rather challenging period in terms of staffing, and that led to some recruitment, which has been successful so far, which is awesome.
So to hold those numbers going forward, because it has been a continual problem getting lifeguards. So yeah, do you have a reserve of lifeguards as such that you can call on in
Yes.
times like we've just experienced?
Yep, we have built our casual pool of lifeguards up, but unfortunately it still does come down to availability. But we are very happy that our recent rounds of recruitment have actually been a lot more successful as well, and that we've been able to, I guess, have more option in choosing those that are suitable for the role.
Thank you.
Hamish.
Just comment to that. It is a continual challenge. It has been for many years, so it's not a one-off. And every pool in New Zealand faces the same challenge. And you can read any day of the week during the winter months of public pools around New Zealand having their hours altered to reflect the staffing levels available to them. So it is a ongoing issue, one that we work really hard at. And I think when Rich was here at the previous activity briefing, he talked about the new qualification process which we were embarking upon here in Ashburton, and we are really hopeful that the appeal of that qualification may improve both recruitment and retention of lifeguard staff which will flow through to the hours that we're able to stay open.
And just on that note, so you had to cancel the August Women's Swim Night, but you're going to continue those?
Yes, so we did recently hold the September Women's Swim Night, which was really great, and it was good to see that the numbers weren't affected by the previous cancellation either, which was good.
Oh, that's good. Councillor Brown.
Thank you. New lifeguard qualifications. What is different?
Quite a lot.
I thought you just get people out of the pool.
There's a little bit more to it than that.
What's the difference?
So the main job of a lifeguard is prevention, always. We don't want to be getting into the pool to get people out. That's kind of a last ditch for us. This qualification is a lot more comprehensive in terms of, I guess, testing our operations and testing our staff, not just training them as we normally do with our PLPC. So they'll have a lot more, I guess, scenarios that the public will be able to see as well, which is really cool. For the public, the main differences that they will see is that staff will be wearing rescue tubes now, and that is something that is derived from America, and where this program is primarily, I guess, what's the word? Developed. So that's a big thing that the public will notice, is that the staff are wearing rescue tubes, which is not only safer for the person in the water, but also for our staff. And it means that they shouldn't have to get into the water so often.
Thank you.
Councillor Hooper.
Thank you. I was swimming at Cromwell Pool a couple of days ago, and they appeared to have quite a few less lifeguards. Are we a lifeguard per swimmer, or are we a lifeguard per pool?
So we have a minimum of 2 lifeguards to open our facility. And then from there, our ratio is 1 lifeguard to 50 swimmers. But it also depends on what activities those swimmers are doing and how far spread they are within our pool.
Yeah, because if some of them are learn to swim and have a tutor with them, they won't count it to the number, is that right?
They still count, yeah. The instructor isn't counted as out of the ratio. But thinking about kids are high risk, elderly are high risk. If anyone's doing any exercise in the pool, that increases the risk that they're going to become injured or harmed or have a medical event or anything like that. So we change our supervision to adapt.
Okay, cool. A couple more if I may. The beach volleyball, Sarah, has there been any thought going forward, I read somewhere somewhere like Napier or Tauranga or somewhere like that, where they had a sandpit, and it was quite the social place for people, mums, to get together while the kids played in the sandpit, and they could have a coffee. And I'm just thinking, once the mini golf's up and running, that on a Saturday morning that beach volleyball court could be open for a communal sort of community sandpit. Have you given any thought to that going forward?
And we've talked about, I'm going to say, beach digs and different events as well, especially when there was, I believe, a ring lost in close proximity to the sand court. But those sort of activities are definitely not off the cards. It would probably be a community group that would come to us saying that they wanted to do this and set it up, and then we can have conversations about how and when. The sand court currently doesn't require any bookings, but if it was an event that was to be sort of advertised, I suspect a booking would be a better way of doing it, so that it was a guaranteed offering. So those sort of things, we can absolutely talk to anyone who's interested on that front.
Cool. It's very inviting sand. Regionalised events, it looks like that's what our facility is going to attract. I'm just going with this informal feedback that we've had. Is that sort of pretty much not what we're doing now with the likes of the basketball and what have you? They're pretty much, aren't they regionalised anyway?
Ellen may comment further. We believe we will get less higher profile or larger sized events going forward. And that's purely because the size of our stadium compared with neighbouring councils' size of their future stadiums is going to be significantly bigger for us. So in terms of the timetable of, a netball tournament, for example, with more courts, you can punch it in and out in a lot shorter succession. So it's a shorter event, still with the same number of courts and games played. So yeah, we'll have a niche. It will just be a different niche going forward than what we've got now, and the larger events may not come our direction going forward.
Thanks.
Councillor Ellis.
Thank you. Just on the mini golf update, and I drove past and had a look, it's looking really good, but officers are working through the operational aspects with hire putters and balls already on site. I thought we weren't hiring the putters. Is it free or?
Playing the course itself is free, and we've always said that. There is hireage fees if you want to hire a ball and a club. So free if you bring your own. We do want a booking system though, and you can select to hire or to bring your own clubs and putters. But it's like the disc golf course, whereby we have some discs that people can hire so that they can then utilise it without having the capital investment themselves.
Mayor Brown.
Thanks. Ella, you mentioned about the number of lifeguards at the pool. Is that, and you have X number, is that your policy or is that a legislation that you need to have what you've got there?
It's a bit of a mixture. So we're a pool safe facility, which outlines the minimum number of 1 to 50 for the lifeguards. And then our EAP and the rescues that we train our staff to do require a minimum of 2.
Okay. And the other question, I think I've read it here or somewhere, Selwyn's using cameras or AI. Obviously that must save lifeguards, or does it?
No, it doesn't. It doesn't replace lifeguards, because at the end of the day, the lifeguard's the one that's getting in the water if the AI detects anything. It's still relatively new, and so I think everyone is kind of watching and waiting a little bit to see how it goes. I know that Recreation Aotearoa are going up and having their AGM up there, so we're looking at going up and having a look. But no, it doesn't decrease the amount of lifeguards that you need.
Hamish.
And just on that, I think I heard Richard say he'd gone up to have a look at the system and came back really impressed with it. So he was initially a little bit sceptical, but seeing the system in operation, he was impressed. So there may well be ongoing potential for such a system, much wider than just Selwyn.
Councillor Wilson.
With the change of the Holidays Act announced yesterday, I'm introducing this to Sarah because it's probably more. Do you think? Did we have it? Because the problem, one of the problems it's solving is if you work for 1 hour a week, you get 10 days sick leave. That's my extreme example. I'm not saying it's bad or good. Did we have a problem, or did we have a huge amount of people taking sick leave and only working short hours? Because we have a huge workforce of people that do work unusual shorter hours.
Yes, the recent announcement will probably be most meaningful in terms of change at EA Network Centre. We do have a large number of staff who have small hours per week, but it's also fair to reflect that if, for example, somebody did work 2 hours for a shift and that was their total week's earnings, their day is 2 hours, so they would have got 2 times 10, but they still it wouldn't have been 8 times 10. So a day is relative to the employee's day. So it's not, headlines can make it sound quite extreme. The flip side of that is there will be other staff, for example, where the costs may actually go up for council. For example, our rec assistants, because now they're factoring in sick leave and thing for casual employees, where previously it was only if they met the criteria of frequency over a month. And when we have staff that work for a 2-week period in the school holidays, they don't meet that criteria, but under the new legislation there would be an allowance for that. So I without doing the analysis yet, I believe there'll be some pros and some cons in terms of cost to council, but having a refresh of the Holidays Act in terms of the legislation should, devil's always in the detail, be advantageous to us.
And further question on that, with regards to the being able to take 2 hours leave, sort of, as part of your day and thing, how would you, is the software out there that's capable of doing that? Because I understood the teacher said no, but pays never worked well, so how's it going to work for this? How do you work that out? How do you make that operate?
Well, we do that now, and EA's portion of our payroll system is definitely the most complicated that we have within council, and that's future conversations to be had with payroll and also our consultant technology one.
Councillor Hooper.
Thank you. The pool safe facilities that Mayor Brown touched on, how many are there in New Zealand, do we know, and what do the others do that aren't?
I think it's 214. Yeah. I believe there's about 214. It depends on the facility, because obviously, like we talked about earlier, the size and spread of the swimmers can vary hugely. There is also exceptions for signage in areas that aren't lifeguarded and things like that to make public aware that can alter your ratios as well.
Okay, so the others just don't. Is that the only option? It's either pool safe or not. Yeah.
Right, last question, Councillor Meckle.
Thank you. On that system, do you keep data of how many rescues our lifeguards do? Why can't we see them if you have them? And just trying to put some sort of costing around the benefits of having a system electronically that you're talking about.
I'll just step in there and Alan can add to it. Through our system, in terms of our health and safety system, we do record the number of dry and wet rescues, and that information has in the past come through audit and risk, and if there is a particular event it will come through audit and risk, but the process of trying to condense the health and safety report and to raise it at a level suitable for governance, I believe that detail hasn't been part of the recent reports.
Yeah, I'd question looking at it, the new electronic system, if there is no decrease benefit in lifeguards, which will be looking over that safety aspect anyway.
Yes, and your reference, I believe, is towards the AI system.
Yes.
There'll be additional costs. It will be a higher level of service that cost would offset, but everything comes with a price tag, and there's that benefit analysis before we would propose it to put forward to you.
Would only take one person saved by a lifeguard, which would be the benefit to the lifeguard. How many, just offhand, Sarah, would we have on average a year?
A year? Are we talking in total?
Yes.
I think we roughly average around 11 a month. That's just total, wet or dry. Dry rescues are much more common. Wet rescues, like I said, we don't want our lifeguards getting in the pool because that's then a danger to themselves as well. So the new implementation of the new ILTP will hopefully skew us more towards even further the dry rescues, keeping our people safe as well.
Yep, thank you.
Great, thank you very much. Thanks, Alan, for answering all those questions. We've got Shireen here next, and Art Gallery and Museum report is on page 90.
Kia ora koutou.
Kia ora. Right, any questions on Shireen's report? I just had a question on all the Wikipedia projects. So I had a look at a few of the highlighted ones, went to their links. So that's some of them have been added by the public. Is that correct? Some information's been added by the public, and I guess anyone can go in there and add their own sort of stuff. I was just noticed there was something on. I looked on the Methven one, and it had governance, and it had a little bit of information about it being part of the Ashburton District Council, but there was nothing on the Methven Community Board. And I thought, how does that get updated? Is that through you, or is that just anyone can know
thank you for that question. So the Wikipedia project is essentially a living thing, Wikipedia, that's its nature. So although Dr. Dickerson is working with his team of volunteers to update some of the content around the Ashburton related pages, those pages are also a work in progress, and members of the public can make suggestions and edits. And the way that the Wikipedians work is that they will only put published information on the pages. So, and I'm not saying that there isn't published information about the boards, but it might be that they just haven't gone to that level of research or degree around that particular page. There are different classes of how detailed or complete a page might be. So certainly we can ask Dr. Dickerson to have another look at the Methven page if you like, but essentially it's not best practice for the the owner of the business or a company to make those edits themselves. It is meant to be open source, so members of the public or Wikipedians to do it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Councillor Bram.
Thank you. The tapa cloth. So that has been found somewhere. So where's it going to? Is it going back to the original people, or does it coming back here?
Thank you. Through the chair. So this was a large, significantly large tapa cloth that was hanging in the old library at the other entrance, the East Street entrance. And it had been there for quite some time. And in the process of us removing the artworks from the old administrative building in the library, we found the tapa cloth. And there's been a fair amount of work gone into a conservation report on the tapa cloth, finding the source artists, and we haven't been quite successful in figuring out who initially made the work or how many people were involved. We have been working with a local Tongan community though, and that's where the tapa cloth is at the moment. So we're getting an assessment from our Tongan community to see how best we could manage the care of the tapa. So when it was hanging in the library, it was actually folded in half. And even then, it was really quite large. So it is, if you can imagine, it was traditionally probably used as a flooring item. So for it to be hanging on a wall, it's a little bit tricky for us to house. So at the moment, we're just waiting to work with our Tongan community to see what we could do with it in terms of either going down the path of some conservation or working out other ways that we could display and utilise it for the community.
Thank you.
Pleasure.
Councillor Wilson.
The rebranding of the Art Gallery Museum, where's that at the moment?
There's a report coming to you on the 1st of October.
We're looking forward to that. Councillor Todd.
Thank you. You may not be able to answer this actually, but I'm just looking at the art attics, which they get quite a good uptake from. Say someone who a young person who went to that 10 years ago, do they have they popped up, say, in the Zonta Awards later on, or like, has there been have there been people coming through here that have gone on to actually, I suppose, achieve things in the art world?
Through the chair, that's a really interesting question. I think there have been previous Jub Jub Club members and Art Addicts members that we see visit the gallery and museum. Some have been volunteers in the past. I'm not sure if any of them have entered the art awards. I would have to double check that for you. But there is certainly a lovely community of young people that really enjoy that connection to those classes. And some of them are teenagers now and might come back and help us with sessions or might run an activity for us. But I'm not sure about if they've entered any of the awards. I would have to check that one.
Any further questions? No, thank you, Shireen, and we'll see you next Wednesday for that report.
Great, thank you.
Thanks, Sarah. So next we have democracy and engagement. We've got Dan up first with communications, and that report's on page 96. Any questions for Dan? Councillor Ellis.
Thank you. The transition to the new text message alert service, which is quite an important one with the old one running out shortly. How's that going?
Pretty good. We have the new system in place now, and we have all our contact lists transferred over. The old system hasn't quite discontinued yet, so we still have that in place as well. The new system comes with some new features, but it also has a few old features that we're relying on that haven't transitioned over, so we're trying to find some workarounds, mainly for our duress alarm in the building is the current one. But we've got the IS team supporting us, and we've been working on that pretty quickly, so I think we'll be looking good for when the bulletin service cuts off at the end of the month.
Any other questions? Councillor Lovett.
Just going down to local body elections, we've got bins down here in the library and a couple around town. I notice other councils around New Zealand are actually on the move with their voting bins going into like lifestyle villages or around elderly persons' housing and that. Have we got any plans to do that, to try and ramp up voting? Because I know other councils are doing it to try and get engagement with the public and you know, especially younger ones that have never voted and they don't probably know how to, and I kind of worry because we need to get out there amongst the public. And so any plans?
Thank you. Through the chair, I can answer the bin side of the question, and Dan, I'll bounce to you to answer around the significant campaign that the comms team have underway to encourage voting in the election. Our bins aren't moving around the district just due to resource constraints, but we do have more bins than we've ever had before. So we've got them here in Te Whare Whakatere, we've got them at our Network Centre, we've got them over in Tinwald, we've got one at the Methven 4 Square and one in Rakaya at the mobile station. So we've never had a spread like that before. We've cleared them several times now, and every time that we've cleared them, we've had over 300 papers come back. So we're pleased to see them being used, and they seem to be very evenly used across the different locations.
Sorry, I wasn't trying to interrupt. Through Madam Chair, I have seen that some of the rationale for moving around the bins is around remote areas. So it's not aimed at young people. And in fact, if you take them to the lifestyle villages, I doubt that you'll get a lot of young people votes. But it's more about the remote areas of the district who are significantly impacted by the postal service. So it's compensating for a creaking postal service rather than trying to have a roadshow drumming up more general type support. It may well evolve. We may well see some reviews post this election as to how turnout has been affected in those councils that have been on the move might show some lifts, and that might be something to examine in the future. But the rationale that I've seen has been much more about limited postal services than drumming up youth voting, for example, as you referred to. That I think is a much more nuanced matter than having bins on the move.
Because I kind of, wonder, we need to start looking things differently to, to future-proof this. People, we're at postal services in the rural community, sometimes we're only getting it once a week. And we need to drum up some campaigns and drive around and get people enthusiastic, because it's sort of really gone dead, and I'm thinking we need to do something to get enthusiasm and out there and move.
It's just keeping in mind that our turnout in the Ashburton district is well above the national average historically, and so some of the commentary around very low turnouts is not Ashburton's story. So we have generally had stronger than average support for local government elections in Ashburton. Now we'll know this year whether that's continued or not, but historically that has been the case.
Dan, did you want to comment on the comms side of things?
Yeah, just a little bit. We did have a little look at the stats this morning. So the Vote Ashburton website has had 12,000 visits since the 1st of July, so we think that's tracking really well. There was a huge spike from around the 18th of July, and that's when we put the candidate videos up live. So that's really driving people to it, and that's something new that we've done this year. So we are trying to do some new things this year to engage voters. Another initiative that we're underway on the moment is preparing some videos in different languages. So we want to reach some of those communities that might be a bit harder to reach. So we've got a video that we're preparing that has Samoan language option, has a Tongan Samoan language option, and a couple of other languages as well. So we're still working hard on that.
Thanks for that. Councillor Wilson.
With school holidays, I travelled around the South Island for a bit of a look around, and I could name you in some towns all the candidates were standing because their billboards were on council land in prominent places. We don't seem to allow that here. Here you have to hunt around friends and neighbours' mailboxes and on signs to see it. And I was just interested to understand how can other places be allowing it and we're not allowing it? I use one example on the corner of the showgrounds, which is all the signs were lined up with all the names, and you drove past it a couple of times and you could about name all the names. It was promote locations with provide access to voters for information about candidates. We've got that, and I was just understanding why we don't help allow that to happen.
My understanding is there was a piece of work at some time in the relatively recent past where council decided where were appropriate places for signs and what wasn't an appropriate place for a sign. So that's been a decision of this council, not this term of council, but this council has defined the areas where they should or shouldn't be. And my understanding is the debate around that rests around information and advice and a liberal interpretation of what might be appropriate versus the clutter and the amount of signage that might result in a more liberal interpretation, which doesn't always find favour. So council has resolved where is appropriate, as I understand it. It could well be that again, as part of the debrief from this election, we might institute some sort of review to see whether the current settings are appropriate, but they have been at the decision of council.
Thank you, Mayor Brown.
Just a quick Google search of New Zealand Post deliveries to rural. It's 5 days per week, and you can post letters back by putting them in your mailbox as well. So it's not 1 day a week, it is 5 days per week for rural delivery. Councillor
Hooper.
Thanks. Yeah, I was just going to say that the return page is tracking really well. We're at 15% as of yesterday, compared to 7, 6 and 9 the last 3 elections at the same time. There's normally a huge boost the last week, 10 days. So I think the comms team are doing a great job on this one, and we're tracking really nicely.
Yeah.
And sorry, I should have mentioned, and thank you, Dan, for outlining the additional initiatives that we've adopted this year. The other one that the comms team was also deeply involved with was actually conducting the 2 candidate meetings ourselves, whereas we've tended to rely on either the service clubs or the senior centre or the media to arrange those meetings. And we wanted to get on the front foot this year and make sure they did happen and put our own comms resource in behind both advertising those meetings but also running them. We were really pleased with the outcome and the interest in both Ashburton and Methven for those two meetings, and that was the first time that the council itself has stepped into the place of running and advertising and creating the awareness for the election. It's the first time we've done that. We were really pleased with the results.
Thank you. Councillor Cameron.
There's a longer voting period available this year for people to vote. Is that a local initiative or is that a national initiative?
No, national.
National initiative. Because of the reduced postal services, and that was at the motivation.
That is correct, as I understand it, yes.
Yeah. So we're actually not filled. People have had longer, they've had a run up, longer time to vote.
It's like a sport, the time to judge this will be when the final whistle goes, not whether you're leading at half time. Yeah.
It's not a game of tiddlywinks, is it? Any further questions for Dan? No, thanks, Dan. Next we have strategy and policy, and we've got Mark here, page 100. Richard, did you have a question on strategy before?
Yes. It's to do with open spaces strategy. Just, how will that unfold? And obviously strategy goes before structure, so how will that affect the development plan that's been put in place? Because we quite often get things in the development plan that's 5 years old or something, and we get it and how will that all unfold and work out?
At this stage, we'll be aiming to complete that by June next year as part of sort of our preparations for the LTP 2737. So in terms of next stages, it's sort of next couple of months project planning and scoping what's needed, any early engagement that might be required, and probably looking towards March, April engagement on the whole strategy. In terms of the domain development plan you're referring to, so there is, as part of that document, my recollection is a 5-year review as part of that, which also will tie into this strategy in terms of potentially the work that might flow through into the LTP as well.
Councillor Cameron?
No, this will just help me. Thank you. No, I've done it, it's fine.
Oh, you're finished? Yeah, okay. Any other questions for Mark? Councillor?
Another question on something different. The climate partnership, it's been in the news lately that ECAN obviously decided there's an emergency in everything. So how is them declaring a climate emergency affected, because they're one of the bigger players in that partnership, obviously. How has that affected, the climate change response, or, from a strategic point of view? Because obviously you do an emergency, you'd expect something to happen, or you'd be doing it for a reason. So how is that, because that's happened for a wee while, so there must have been ECAN must be doing something and inputting into that differently.
They declared a climate emergency
last
term.
About 2019.
Yeah.
I think that question would have to be directed at ECAN. We've got no way of measuring how that declaration has impacted their activity or how they would judge the value of it.
Councillor Lovett.
There's probably falls in your department, just going on to like reserve boards and their halls and that, who we need a model, a new strategy around it, because we've got reserve boards that only meet once every 3 years, and a lot are very happy doing their own thing. Some of these little small ones like Chertsey and Dorrie and that, and I don't know, is it your department or where that kind of fits in? Is it time that we had a look going forward how this gets managed or comes together?
I'll let Tony answer that one.
Sort of light fly on, eh? Thank you, through the chair. So the reserve boards and memorial hall boards, they're all about to be discharged on the 11th of October, and then we'll go into the triennial process to re-elect. It's through that process that we'll really start to see how the shape of some of our smaller reserve boards and hall boards are actually sitting, whether they can get a quorum and get themselves stood up. We have emailed all of our boards and thanked them for their contribution over the last 3 years, and we've also notified there's about 6 or 7 that we haven't heard from for a while, and we would like to hear from to understand what's been going on and what's happening. We've also indicated to them that we need to see some minutes, and that potentially future funding from council could hinge on the status of that. I completely understand where you're coming from in terms of a future state and what that looks like. The Triennium is kind of the first step for us. We're doing a lot of condition assessments of our memorial halls in particular to understand what those costs look like going forward, and all of that will start to feed into the LTP. So we're working towards a 27 type approach for what the future might look like.
Yeah, because it was 3 years ago when we did those meetings, we talked about it, and you bring up the reserve boards for meetings, these little ones, and they have a few beers and do stuff, and they do everything themselves. They're really happy with what they do, and I'm thinking it needs, another 3 years goes on, and another 3 years, and it's just time that perhaps a strategy or something needs to be looked at. Who manages them, or has a workshop once a year where they've got to come in.
It's a really fine balance, yes, because often you've got these boards that are actually ticking over really well. They expect very little from us, and their volunteer contribution is invaluable to what they're still providing for their local community. So it's a fine balance between going and inserting ourselves as a council into the work that they do, and then the responsibility that could end up placing back on us when we don't have a limitless pot of resources. So we're walking a bit of a delicate line at the moment in terms of making sure we support as best we can, but we do expect, if they are going to be a board under a council structure, that we do hear from them regularly.
And I think that letter that was sent out was sort of spot on. It's good. Thank you. Thanks, Mark. I don't think there's any more questions. We'll go now to Anne, Memorial Halls and Reserve Boards, and reports on page 109 and 110. Any questions on that? Councillor Ellis.
Thank you. Just remind me, the Timwood, welcome Anne, the Timwood Memorial Hall, when's the floor getting sanded? Is that was it Christmas time or something, was it? I can't.
5th of January they start.
5th of January, thank you. Also, while I'm on Tynwald, the Tynwald Reserve Board, there's no update here, and there's just been a little bit of media obviously around the last few days. Do we have an update on what's happening there with the old site?
Thank you, through the chair. Yes, so with the Tynwald Reserve Board, we met with them on Monday evening. So the work that's has been undertaken on the former pool site has meant that has been filled in, and that has happened as stage 1 of the project. We've got slightly out of step with our timing on that one, but the costs associated with that filling in of the pool will be met by the Tynwald Reserve Board themselves. Stage 2, which is the actual redevelopment of the site, that will be coming to council for approval, and that will also be seeking funding through either an annual plan or some alternative process.
Councillor Cameron.
Thank you. Methven Reserve Board, if I may talk about that, page 110, met to discuss the construction of a formed helipad. I've tried to go through to the further information, click through, but that takes me to the Thor thing that we can't access. But who's going to pay for this helipad?
Thank you, through the chair. So nobody.
Oh, good.
Short answer. For a little bit of context, the Methven Lions had been approached by Garden City Helicopters to form a helipad onto the Methven Reserve. This went through quite a process and quite a number of conversations. However, where it eventually landed, for want of a better pun, is that because it's a council reserve, the liability and the responsibility for ensuring the health and safety of that formed helipad would fall back onto the Methven Reserve Board, and that was a responsibility they weren't willing to take on. We were crossing over with the Civil Aviation Authority, Garden City Helicopters, and a place called Aeropath, and it was quite a convoluted process.
Yeah.
Where it's landed is that we will be looking to write a letter to the ministers just to outline that this is actually quite frustrating because the end result is a positive one for the community. Right now, the helicopter can land on the reserve, and it is the responsibility of the helicopter company to clear the site before they land, and so that won't change in the meantime.
Okay, if it was going to change, it would come back around this table.
It absolutely would, and that was
Yeah.
something that we were very clear to the Reserve Board, that if they supported it, it would still need to be approved by council, because
Thank
the
you.
ultimate liability comes back to council.
Thank you, Tony.
And the funding was pretty much going to be covered by grants and lines and donor of the pad.
Yeah, of the establishment of funding would be, but the ongoing
Yeah.
maintenance and repairs would fall back to the Reserve Board and in turn council.
Yeah. Mayor Brown.
Yeah, just following up on Councillor Ellis's question about the Tynwald Reserve Board and the filling in of the pool. I've had contact with the Reserve Board at Tynwald, and they acknowledged that due process wasn't followed, and I've had a formal letter of apology and an assurance that it won't happen again.
Thank you.
All policy will follow the due process, and I'll copy that letter and send it to councillors if they wish.
Thank you. Councillor Wilson.
Just to end, with regards to Councillor Lovett's concerns around the boards, with the new tram, do you go to the boards in the first instance and tell them these are the dates you get grants and these are what you've got to do? Because often the boards I've been on, they're just doing the process and summer comes and goes, and then we didn't know we had to put grants in. Is there like a template that goes to, and this is your responsibilities at the outset?
Through the chair, yes, there is. So as part of the training, we are updating their constitution, so they'll get a new set of terms of reference that explains to them their roles and responsibilities. When the grants open, we do notify them to let them know the grants are available. Oftentimes, though, when we're notifying them in January, they've got about 4 or 5 weeks to get their ducks in a row. So really the ideal time is that they're thinking of the projects sort of 6 or 7 months out, so they're getting themselves ready with their quotes and their pricing to be able to make the application in time. So the boards that we work closely with are really starting to get into a great rhythm and pattern of understanding the processes involved.
Councillor Mackle.
Thank you. Other helipads around the country are beside hospitals or fire brigades, where they are responsible for clearing the site once a helicopter's coming in. Two questions. If it was a helipad on the reserve, there's generally going to be the hospital, or an ambulance or a fire brigade there that could clear that site. Why would it necessarily fall on the Reserve Board for that responsibility? And the other part of the question is, has there been other sites around Methven investigated for a site where lots of the fire brigade can take that responsibility?
Thank you, through the chair. The things I now know about helipads is quite remarkable. You're completely right that there are a number of these helipads that have been put down throughout the country, but they have generally been associated next to a medical centre or close to a fire brigade. They may still have been on public land, but it may have been public land that they managed and looked after. So the challenge that we've got where we are is that ultimately the land has been vested in council to manage and own and operate. So even if we did get agreement from Fire Brigade, for example, to take that responsibility on, if something happened, we would still be liable. So it's just an unfortunate way of how the health and safety rules work right now and how the Civil Aviation Act is prepared.
So as far as a more, it's appropriate where it's landing at the moment, I absolutely see that, but are there other sites being investigated around Methven?
Through the chair, we haven't done that work. The Methven Lions and a couple of members from different organisations in Methven at the time, they did do a bit of a recce around town of what they wanted, but they ultimately wanted public land. So they ultimately wanted land that was going to be owned and administered by council for the site to go on. So we'll always fall into the same scenario if that's the desire.
So as far as the airport's concerned, council owns that land, so we are responsible in the end of that airport. I see where you're coming with that, but still there are landings happening out there without us clearing the site, etc. So what's the difference, Tony?
Oh, yep, I can understand your question. Thank you. It's because it's a formed helipad. So the minute you pour that concrete down and you meet all the specifications of what the helicopter companies are needing to form the helipad, I mean, this was including lights, this was windsocks, this was a lot of, it was not just a slab of concrete. The minute you've got all of those extra parts going on, that then comes with the increased responsibility. I mean, right now, a helicopter can close a road, emergency services can close a road for a helicopter to land in any scenario. And that's got the responsibility back onto the helicopter company and their pilots making the judgment to land at that point in time, and that's their call. The minute we form something up, the responsibility becomes council's.
Just a well-written letter to the Transport Authority, and good luck.
We'll try our best.
Thank you. Thanks, Anne. Last, we've got Mercedes with Welcoming Communities, and her report's on page 110. Hi, Mercedes. Any questions on Mercedes' report? My question's just around the food handling talk. So that obviously looked like it was well received. So how did you advertise that that was going to happen? Was that just out to all food stall holders? How did that work?
We advertised it on my Facebook page, the Welcoming Communities Facebook
okay.
page,
Yep.
and we also targeted the communities who approached me, and I sent them the message. Also, members of the community who didn't belong to any bigger group, they were also notified.
Thank you. And the civic participation, so you're just going to do drop-in sessions and again advertise through your Facebook page for people to come through to learn more about voting, etc.?
Yes, and we are working with comms as well
yeah.
to make the public aware.
So when will that, so that's the 4th and the 11th?
Yes.
Yeah, great. Oh, well, I hope you get a good, a lot of people come along to that. Any other questions, Councillor Ellis?
Thank you. Have you done any work with the local Ashburton Polytech around, English language courses, food safety and those sorts of things? Have you ever worked with them or not?
You mean ARA?
Yes.
They are no longer
No, I know
operating.
that, but that's why I was asking, have you ever worked with them? Because ARA is now shutting its doors in Ashburton, but yeah.
No, I haven't.
I haven't, okay.
Any further questions? No. Thanks, Mercedes. Thanks, Tony. That brings us to the end. Slightly over time today, but all good. Thank you very much.